Well, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. As always, I am Zach the Corruption Detector, and this is another edition of Red Pill News for Saturday Night Livestream. Joining me once again, my good friends Justin and Wesley Faull, the founders of Fourth Watch Films and the makers of the landmark documentary Belly of the Beast, the director's cut. Hope you guys are having a fabulous evening. Do me a favor, don't forget to like and share this broadcast. Share it on your favorite social media platform. Help us break through the algorithm. We've got a heck of a show for you tonight, guys. Thank you so much for being here. All right, everyone. Do me a favor. Sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. As crime rates skyrocket across certain cities in the United States, it's important to do what you can to prevent your family from becoming a target. One way to do that is by protecting your home from potential burglars. Information from experts and ex-burglars show they both agree that proper lighting, especially motion detection lighting around the house, is an effective deterrent. That's why I have the Night Solar Ultra Bright floodlights installed around my own house. These lights have motion detection so they can easily be installed anywhere. They're completely solar powered, so there's no batteries, outlets, or wires required. Plus, if you want to keep the Night Solar Ultra Bright floodlights on to enjoy a night on the patio or for barbecues when your family or friends are over, you can just click the button. Invest into your family's safety and give them peace of mind today. Get the Night Solar Ultra Bright floodlights for 52% off, plus free shipping, by going to nightsolarlight.com or clicking the link in the description or pinned comment below. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around. Please join me in welcoming once again to the show Justin and Wes Faull. You guys, how are you doing tonight?
Red Pill 78, what's up, bro?
Doing great, man. Great to be back with you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. It's been far too long. I'm super excited about this. I hope the audience is as well. Now, Wes, I just realized I called you Wesley in the intro, but I realized it could have just as easily have been Westin. What is it? Is it, or is it even?
You got it, man. I'm the second. I'm named after my dad. He took the first name, so I got the second. So.
Right on.
So it is Wesley. You're correct in that, man.
Hey, can I interject? Why don't we just call him West Fall 78?
There you
And then there's
whatever works.
And then there's that, man. Same year, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, 78 was a good year. Somebody actually, this is interesting, guys. Yesterday, when I announced the show that we were doing last night, President Trump was in the middle of a press conference, or rather it was just right after I put the announcement out. And he said 78 3 times during the course of, I know, right? We love the number games, okay? We love watching that stuff. And he said 78, like 3 different occasions within like a 2-minute period. So I had to clip it out and put it out there. And so somebody put on the tweet, somebody answered the tweet and said that something about how 78 was an angelic number. And, I don't know enough about it basically, but it sounded good to me. I mean, like if I got archangels watching over me as a result of the year that we're born, I'm going to be okay with that,
I'll take it, man. Yeah.
All right. Well, so what's up with you guys? How have you been?
Man, it's been a crazy season. I got to tell you, ever since we released this director's cut, there's been a whole lot of crazy stuff happening, like personal attacks.
Really?
just weird stuff. And I'm not saying that the people who have come against us have necessarily like come at us directly from the film, but as a Christian, I believe in spiritual warfare.
Oh, absolutely.
And I believe that films like this really rattle up the demons inside of people. We even got a letter. We got a letter after we released the first version of the film. Somebody found our home address.
Oh, dude.
And they had to pay for like they went through and they got and they sent us a letter, and it was not very friendly, and it was very much a backhanded threat about the content of this film. And so, but you know what? Hey, God is good, man. And I tell you what, we're praying that 2020 gets a lot better. I know I'm sure that I speak for most of us here that say that 2020 has been probably that's what we call it. We don't even call it Corona anymore. Like, we don't talk about Black Lives Matter or coronavirus. It's just 2020.
Yeah. 2020 as a whole, man. It's been a difficult year for just about everybody, I think.
All the memes it's like they're true, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Oh, man. Well, so let's talk about Belly the Beast. You know, I mean, obviously on the card, you know, I included the fact that, you know, we're talking about the secret occult history of America. And, you know, I mean, I'm not totally surprised that you guys had some pushback in the release of this movie. It's an uncomfortable subject, you know, but on the other hand, it's also a subject that I think a lot of us are aware of. You know, I mean, there is a serious level of occult symbolism that was baked into the planning of this country in a number of different ways. You know, so tell us about the film. You know, what is Belly the Beast about?
Generally speaking, this is a film that takes us back to the ancient world and then brings us current. And that's one thing that's important to do here, is that there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of conspiracy theories floating around. We wanted to dispel the theories. We wanted to go all the way back, and we wanted to prove with actual evidence that can be completely validated and verified, much of which at the Library of Congress. And we wanted to bring that current, and we wanted to show people that this idea of a deep state goes all the way back before even the foundations of this country. But the idea that there was occult prophecies with the philosophers of the ancient Greeks that literally have been fulfilled and are being fulfilled by this country. And furthermore, to see even some of our presidents, our past presidents, pushing this agenda. And now we're right here literally seeing something that was unprecedented. 2020 could not be, there could not be a better year to be releasing the director's cut of this film. And I want to say this for anybody, we're going to drop a lot of truth bombs tonight. This is going to be a very epic discussion. As for all red pills, they're hard to swallow. This is going to be probably one of the hardest red pills for some people to swallow, but hang in there. And I want everybody to know that we're going to say some things that might ruffle you up a little bit. Hang tight. You can validate everything that we're going to talk about tonight. We are not going to give you any information that's based on theory. We're going to give you facts tonight, history tonight. And we encourage everybody to not take our word for it, but look into these things. And if you want to see the film, definitely get the director's cut. I want to make sure you know that. The original has been updated. This is the updated Ready to Rock 2020 version.
And just I want to give a sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you have not seen the film yet, or perhaps you're not even familiar with the Faull Brothers and Fourth Watch films, but the link to the Vimeo so that you can actually see the film, the director's cut of Belly the Beast, as well as a link to all of their films, which are all on Vimeo. That's in the description of the video, and I'm sure that my mods can go ahead and share that. But please, Wes, what were you going to say?
Thanks. Well, I just want to give a disclaimer because, like he was mentioning, it's a very sensitive subject. And it is a tough pill to swallow. I mean, we got that from the original version of the film. So I wanted to give a disclaimer. We're very thankful to be living in this country. I can't think of another country I'd rather be living in. Personally, I see God's hand in putting us here, and he's always had his people. His plan is still completely intact. I just want to go ahead and throw that out there. Regardless of how bad things get, there's one thing that's constant, and that's him. We can always rely on him. But with all that, I just wanted to put that out there. It's very a delicate subject that we're about to get into, and so we're very patriotic. We're thankful, and it's in no means to be a derogatory. Even though we do have to go back and undo some of the revisionist history that's been given to us.
Sure. You know, I mean, I'd like to think that the audience, my audience in particular, is smart enough to be able to, unpack, what these things are. We all know that we've been lied to. Obviously, history is taught by the victors. The people that have taught us history, it's what they've wanted us to believe. And I think that just about all of us, especially our generation, Wes, we can take a look back at the last 20 years and see just in that short amount of time how that teaching of history has been altered so drastically. Things are much different today in comparison to how they were when we were children, and not just in the classroom, but outside of the classroom. And, and I've also often said many, many times that the cabal that we're working against, it's not a new thing. It did not begin with the founding of America. I mean, this is centuries, if not thousands of years old. So having to go back to ancient Greece, I mean, it makes sense. The fact of how powerful they are, how deeply they've been able to embed themselves into every aspect of our life. It's not just America. It's just we're going to be talking about it for the purposes of the show, as how it relates to America. So, before we get into the details of the film, I wanted to ask you guys, what is the difference between the original version of the film and this new director's cut that you guys have put out very recently?
The director's cut is updated. The director's cut, it's updated. We didn't have time to finish the first film we had a contract, and we didn't have time to finish it the way that it needed to be done. And so since we had time to work on it this last year, we went ahead and got it up to date. Everything's it's the way it needs to be. And we also got to drop the original artwork, which in my opinion smokes the original. We didn't do the original artwork.
Yeah, I totally agree. So not only the director's cut, but also the definitive edition. You guys aren't going to pull a Ridley Scott and do another version in 5 or 10 years?
No, honestly, the director's cut, as to date, that's our magnum opus work. It really is. And for anybody, I want to say this too. For you guys out there that are not Christians, this information is just as important to you as it is to us. Right. This is not just about one group of people. This is about our nation and what the plan is and what they've been gearing us up for far before we were born. Yeah. So,
and like you said, Red, it goes back to ancient civilizations. I mean, this is a fulfillment of prophecy, not only in the Bible but also esoterically as well. It's the end game, and it really gives a good explanation for people to wrap their heads around what they're seeing unfold in the news today. So
absolutely.
Definitely.
So,
okay.
And I also want to say one last thing before we dive in. We do have DVDs available as well. Some people want DVDs. They are only available at fourthwatchfilms.com.
Okay.
So want to throw that out there. Some people prefer that. They want a hard copy. But with that said, let's just go back to ancient history, man. This is unbelievable.
Do it.
Everybody knows who Plato is. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about the gooey stuff we all had when we were kids. Hey, I'm a child of the 80s. Plato, not Play-Doh. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have a little fun tonight too, right? We got to have a sense of humor because this stuff is so dark. Plato, the Greek philosopher, he is very well known in the occult world for putting veiled references in his works that there was going to come a time on the cosmic timeline, if you will, where there was going to be a nation that was going to rise up and it was going to lead the entire world into this end times philosophic empire. It was going to be a golden age of occultism. And the tool or the method, if you will, that was going to be utilized to bring about this global supernatural order was democracy. Now, when people hear that, they just got to let that sink in for a second, because everyone watching this video, we've been born into a time of the greatest conspiracy that we've ever known about. And that is the fulfillment of democracy. And look, I'm not saying that nothing good has come out of it. I'm just breaking down the history here. So democracy was the tool. They were literally going to take democracy and they were going to utilize that to set up a world kingdom. Now, that sounds very much like a lot of other prophecies that other religions have taught and that other, ethnic groups have taught. So Plato said this was going to happen, but here's the kicker. He says it was going to be a large continent, the large continent in the Western Hemisphere. Now, if you go back and you look at the old maps, generally a map was broken down with two circles side by side. You had the Western Hemisphere and then the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. That tells you that even the map makers of the old days, they knew something. They knew that there were prophecies about this Western Hemisphere. It was always set apart, not just in prophecy, but it was set apart even in their maps. This is a big deal. So this idea was this continent was going to rise up. And people say, well, the Native Americans, they were the natives here. They were the ones that were here first. Well, that's not the case at all. Even Native American history will prove that there were giants, supernatural giants in the land, double rows of teeth, 6 fingers sometimes, Buffalo Bill. Many people know Buffalo Bill. He even wrote about these giants. They were so large that they could be running along the plains of America, and they could just pick up a full-grown buffalo, a bison, running, and they could rip it apart and eat it raw while they were running. This is Native American history. But here's what goes even more beyond that. We have Mayor DeWitt Clinton. He was a governor and a mayor. Talk about a guy that has a track record. He was governor, mayor, and a whole bunch of other things for New York in the 1800s. He gave a speech at the New York Historic Society, and he specifically said that they have found fortifications, and they meaning the government. They had found ancient fortifications on this land that absolutely proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that there were civilizations on this land that were far superior and advanced to what they had in the 1800s. Mm-hmm. Now, he spoke this to the New York Historical Society. But let's go back to the ancient Greeks again for a second. We're going to jump around a little bit here. Plutarch, the Greek biographer, he has documented that the Greeks made it to this massive continent in the Western Hemisphere, and that they documented the Great Lakes area and many other parts as well. But one of the fascinating things about this is that there is evidence that the Egyptians made it here as well, and that they were carving out these massive temples in the Grand Canyon. Mm-hmm. Now, we can't access them. The government has them cordoned off. This is hush hush. This would literally ruin the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian has done cover-up campaigns from the absolute beginning when they first started, covering up the giants, the ancient civilizations, covering up all the things that DeWitt Clinton was trying to tell the New York Historical Society. So we had this massive influx of knowledge that happened with DeWitt Clinton. He brought a lot of things out. But then you have to go back and realize that the Native Americans were taught many of their ways by the culture that was here before they were. And what we find out is that they were following after the same religious practices. Brace yourselves for this, as the Freemasons. Now, how do we know this? Well, all of their medals. William Beauchamp. You want to tell them about William Beauchamp?
There was a monograph entitled, I forgot what it was titled.
Ancient, I forget. It was
Ancient Freemasonry and Native Americans, and they actually had the square and compass in their medals. They had the crescent with the star. There's images of even Red Jacket. Red Jacket had it on. He was wearing it. So yeah, there's evidence that they were practicing. They had occult secret societies within different sects of the Native Americans.
Wow. When you find out that they had secret societies in the Native American tribes, and many of them also had human sacrifice as a major part of what they did. Right. Blood was always utilized in rituals of the highest degree. And they were operating with these same types of secret society behaviors and rituals that we see in Freemasonry. But the Freemasons, as we know them, did not really erect in this land until later on. This was back when the Native Americans were here predominantly. What's real fascinating, though, is the name America. We've all been taught that America was based on Amerigo Vespucci, right? And, well, I'm sure there's probably about 4 or 5 different stories out there.
Right.
But what we found out was that America was based off of the root word Amaru. Amaru-ka. Amaru is the name of the plumed serpent god of Peru. In Quiché, he was called Gucumatz, and then in Mexico, they called him Quetzalcoatl. Most of your listeners have probably heard of Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah.
You go to a Mexican restaurant, a lot of times they have like a mural of Quetzalcoatl on the wall. That's the plumed serpent god that took on the form of man. Now, what's crazy is that this lines right up with the biblical narrative of Lucifer, the serpent in the garden, the Nakash. So what's fascinating about all of this is that Amaru-ka literally means the land of the plumed serpent. Ooh. So when you get into the idea of the gods of the old world, Lucifer being the highest underneath Yahweh or Jehovah, whatever you prefer to call it, the God of the Bible, you have Lucifer pretty much as this high-ranking fallen angel that fell down. He wanted to be worshipped. And you find out in the book of Ephesians that all the lands have principalities over them. This is what spiritual warfare is. You're not fighting against, granted, we might fight against Democrats every once in a while, but really we're dealing with the demons, right? We're dealing with the spirits behind them. And what's really fascinating is I think that the land that we're living on right now is the land that was underneath the principality of Lucifer. And this was known in the ancient world, but he was never seen as a bad guy to these people. He was the light bearer. He was the guy that was misunderstood. He was the guy that was going to bring a world philosophic empire under a supernatural king. Now, the Freemasons believe there will be a supernatural king that will rise up to do this.
Not only the Freemasons, though. That goes across the Club of Rome, the United Nations, the Federalist Society.
Rosicrucians.
you name it.
Rosicrucians, the Jesuits, the OTO.
Yeah, there's a new age of enlightenment they're expecting, and they're trying to self-fulfill this. And they're trying. I mean, that goes back to, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it's the ordo ab chaos. It's order of chaos, and we're seeing the chaos ensue so that we can see this new system come in. And that's not me, that's not us. We don't want this, but that's what they're they're hell bent on. They're doing their best to see it happen.
So what you're describing there, I mean, it sounds like the Age of Enlightenment, like Madame Blavatsky, as I can't remember what it's called, but I mean esotericism,
esotericism.
Okay, so that was
Theosophy.
Theosophy, that's what I was looking for. Theosophy. So you're saying that that this line of thought existed prior to Madame Blavatsky popularizing it in the early 20th century, late 19th century?
Yeah, go ahead. You want to take that?
Well, I was just going to say, we can take it all the way back to Babel if we want to. So just to give a little recap on Babel, you had a one world dictator, Nimrod. You had the currency, the religion. You had one world language, everything, and they had everything they so-called needed to have with their own two hands. And so they started trying to build this tower. We're going to go up to God, and who knows what they were going to try to do when they got there. We all know how that worked out for them. God threw the smackdown, said that we need to go ahead and confound them and spread them. And he did that. He diversified them. He confused their language. And it wasn't time was the big point. So the same thing that they were practicing back there with these mystery schools, that's been passed down. And the same idea is still trying to be fulfilled today. And so that's why we have today with, as I was just mentioning, we could talk about, what is it? Interpol, the World Police Force,
right.
The UN. We can talk about the one world religion, which we're not really there yet, but we're seeing all paths lead to one. Same thing, kind of like e pluribus unum, which we can get into that too.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, let's jump into that. Why since you hit that? We have been raised in this idea in an American school, American public schools, at least that we were, and we've been taught this whole idea of e pluribus unum, one out of many.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that literally lines right up with Bible prophecies of there's going to be this final kingdom where literally like every tongue, every nation, every creed is going to be right there in that city. Now city, I believe, is actually by extension a nation, but it's going to lead the whole world. But what's crazy about this is we're the only nation in the world that's such a melting pot that welcomes every background, every person from every nation. If you go through the proper channels, of course, you can come over here. And that literally, that's what e pluribus unum means. But we've been taught that what that means is a good thing. But when we study what the prophecies are, and not just Bible prophecies, but what the esoteric prophecies are as well, it's actually kind of a damaging thing because they're trying to build this massive one world system. Mm-hmm. And how do you build a one world system? You bring people from every culture, every background, and I'm not knocking this idea, by the way. I love the fact that we can all live here, but you bring people from representatives from every place, and what you end up with basically a United Nations nation, which is America. Because you have people that come and they want to bring their ways, they want to bring their governmental backgrounds, they want to bring, and that's why, as conservatives, we always say it's fine to come over here, but don't try to change our system.
Right.
As conservatives, we say this is our system. Our ancestors died for this. They shed their blood for this. Don't come over here and try to change this. Don't try to change our national language. Hey, I love the fact if you want to speak your native tongue. I love the beauty and diversity, but don't try to change what our ancestors have fought and died for.
Well, what's changed with America is that although we've always been known as, the great melting pot, people have maintained their cultural diversity, their pride in their original national heritage. Yes, we are Americans, but we're also Irish. We're also Spanish. We're also German. Belgium. France. Whatever it may be, people will remember that, pass that down. But they have taken it to the degree now where it's more than just a melting pot. They want people to completely forget any of that. And
right.
That one world religion now is not so much religion as it is social justice. They've replaced it with that.
It is a religion. It is. Let's just talk briefly about DC for a second.
Yes.
The founders of this nation, we've been told a lot of propaganda, such as our founding fathers were a bunch of Christians and they had Christian values. And we're not saying that none of them were. but the majority, the ones that made history, the big players. Yeah. I mean, we got over 40 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Freemasons, high-ranking Freemasons, practicing occultists, members of the Hellfire Club. I mean, these are sick, twisted Babylonian mystery school cults that required human sacrifice. They uncovered over, it was like 200 or 300 burned remains of women and children in the European estate of Benjamin Franklin.
I just brought that up like 2 weeks ago. I'm so glad you guys touched on it. This is one of those things that, you know, I mean, it's kind of confounding because we know that Benjamin Franklin, you know, was doing experiments on corpses. I mean, that's what we've been told. But that number is pretty astounding, you know, to think that, you know, I mean, he would have been dissecting corpses on a daily basis. And from what I understand, it wasn't just that they were corpses that were, you know, found buried in his yard. I mean, they were like buried under the foundation of the house. Like,
yes, right.
Yeah, like he was hiding them. Okay. Which is not something you would do.
Too.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
He had a cover story. Like, that's how maniacal this is they even had cover stories for this back in the day, because at some point they knew that they were going to, it was going to get blown out of the water. And so back then they were doing damage control. Today they're doing damage control. But Benjamin Franklin is just one of many. And for anybody who wants to do a little more digging into this, we did not include a deep breakdown of this in the film. But this order he was a part of, the Hellfire Club, they also go by the name of the Knights of Medmenham. And there's a book by that. I forget what the book is called, but there's a lot of information out there listed under both of those titles, because as secret societies in the old world, secret societies had to go underground because they had state religion everywhere. What the king said went, basically. It was basically tyranny. Mm-hmm. And so they had to go underground to practice. And that was one of the things that the founders wanted to instill in America, was they wanted this place to be a free country, which we love that. And they wanted to create a freedom of religion, not for Christianity. Again, we have to dispel the fact that America is a Christian nation. We have never been a Christian nation. We've had many Christians here. We've had great works of God here and blessings by God here. But from its foundation, this nation has not been, by definition, a Christian nation. Even Billy Graham, who we believe is a 33rd degree Freemason, he even said that this has never been a Christian nation. Probably the most truthful thing that Obama ever said was, this country has never been a Christian nation. That's probably the most truth that ever came out of his mouth, or his husband's mouth. But for that matter, am I allowed to say that?
It's too late.
All right. Sorry.
Big Mike, you're good.
Sorry, dude. So this idea is that they created the freedom of religion. They taught us that it was for Christianity. That's how we came up believing. It was not for Christianity at all. It was literally so that the secret societies could start bringing in their masses from all over the world. There was massive persecutions taking place. We break this down in the film of people who were practicing the occult arts. They were being persecuted because they were not submitting to the leadership and authority of the kingdoms that they lived in. Now, the kings were practicing the same types of stuff, but they didn't want everybody else doing it, and they did it in secret. Now, why is this important? Because they have woven this into the fabric of our nation. All of these things that they've woven into the fabric of our nation have a dual meaning. There's a duality to it.
Yes.
And so we find that when we went to D.C. Now, we went to D.C. We got boots on the ground. We went to the Library of Congress. We went to the Capitol building. We've done a lot of research there. Matter of fact, there was a conspiracy against us. Do y'all remember? This is fascinating. Do y'all remember back in 2018, Trump said that there was some illegal wiretapping and hijacking going on over him and his people? Do y'all remember this?
They're using the Stingray equipment.
Yeah, it was a Stingray operation, and while we were in DC, it was right around that same time. Well, we had our location scout reach out to pay all these fees to get permission for us to film in DC, because you know how it is. You got, after 9/11, you got to pay to film anywhere, and so. And we'll get into 9/11 later if we have time. But we're in DC. We had all of our permits. You know, our girl was setting all the permits up for us. Well, we got in touch with the Freemasonic temple there. And it's the Mecca for Freemasons, by the way. It's called the Herodome. This place is tricked out occult temple, massive. And we were able to get inside. But before we got there, she was setting all this stuff up for us. As soon as they found out who we were, and one of the guys that we were affiliated with, who was going to be doing a big expose in the film, and he did. He's the guy that breaks down this massive ritual in the film. They found out about that. And he found out, he got the ritual information from Freemasons. He was very close with Freemasons that disclosed this information to him. But now he's blacklisted. They found out that we were working with him and that the girl that was doing our location scouting was his daughter. Well, as soon as that happened, bro, Nobody else gave us any more permits. They blacklisted us. No more emails, no more phone calls. We could not get the rest of our permits that we applied for. We got blacklisted in DC. And there was 2 mysterious people walking around following us all day, both like got at least 2 days that we were out filming. They had these briefcases. There was a guy, I can't tell you guys how creepy this was.
He was down there when we were leaving the hotel to go out to the mall area to do our interview out there. He was there as we were walking out. And both days he was there. I don't know.
And what got real crazy is that while we were filming in the mall,
the product of it though. Here you go.
Yeah, so we're filming in the mall area, and in the mall area, by the way, we are standing literally between the Washington Monument and the Capitol Dome, and we're breaking down this massive deep state ritual that the Freemasons do in DC. And while we're doing this, there's a lady in black, and she's got a black box. I did not recognize her at first, but Tom did. Tom was the guy. Tom Horn was the guy we were working with.
He saw her in the hotel.
He saw her in our hotel, and she was standing around while we were filming out there. And our signal, look, we were using the most expensive microphones, wireless microphones you could buy.
Best Sennheisers on the market.
Like literally platinum series Sennheisers, over $1,000 a piece. Like, wow. We had our own channel. Everything was and this film is extremely high quality. Like, this is just like watching a Hollywood documentary. And so we're out there with the best gear we could shoot. Everything was top notch. They start funneling and siphoning our audio while we're filming. Well, we didn't know until we got back. It's crazy how that worked out. We had a little bit of a glitch, but everything was fine. We got back and realized they had siphoned a whole bunch of our audio out. And so we had to put subtitles up. And we were like, Tom, do you want to go out and reshoot this?
We were going to pull it, but...
Yeah, we were going to reshoot the whole thing. And he was like, they're on to us. He was like, it doesn't matter. He was like, plus, by putting subtitles up, people are going to see evidence that we were under attack while we were there. And then we got back, and our Pentagon connection, Lieutenant Robert McGinnis, he's a Pentagon analyst on Fox News pretty regularly. He told us that while we were there, he goes, well, I tell you exactly what happened. He goes, y'all were in the middle of the Stingray.
Wow.
And this is our Pentagon source, working inside the Pentagon, a career patriot of America. Now, I'm sorry, you look like you want to say something. I just get excited about this.
Yeah, this is just mind-blowing. I'm not completely surprised. Clearly this is information that they've worked very diligently over a super long period of time, decades if not longer, to try and keep it hidden. But there's always a little bit of information that they're comfortable allowing to get out. They're okay with it being characterized in a certain way. But you start getting too close to the truth, and obviously they're not real interested in letting it go much farther than that.
Right. He told us that there's a room at the White House. A lot of people might think that whoever's in the White House has control of all of it. It's compartmentalized. And he said there's a whole room in the White House, which was like a block and a half away from where we were standing. He said it's a hidden room that is decked out with this gear. He said it was a room full of gear that they were using to spy on President Trump. That's what we heard from Robert McGinnis. In the White House. This is in a room in the White House.
Yep.
And I want to make one other point here before we go any further. It's real easy just to say the deep state. We've been calling it the shadow government for 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, like we've been talking about the shadow government and how, the neoconservatives and, obviously George W. Bush, total neoconservative, deep state operative, just like his dad. But the point of all this is to say that now that after it was the election of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, where the deep state or the shadow government became a household name. And I don't really care if you want to call it the deep state, you call it whatever you want to call it. It's the shadow government. And it's basically this small group. It's an oligarchy, basically, that runs the government. This goes all the way back to the foundation of our nation. We've been told that this is this great republic, but in reality, and we had a whole historical breakdown of this in the film by Robert McGinnis, and he breaks down how even the founders, when they were drawing up all of our nation's foundational documents, that they had the windows locked. They did not want the common man to know. Now, I'm not here I'm a constitutionalist. I'm grateful for the Constitution. I am grateful for the Declaration. Dude, I am grateful for the Bill of Rights. But it's fascinating to see that they were promoting the idea of a republic publicly while they were operating like an oligarchy behind the scenes. That's always fascinated me. Now, it doesn't change the fact that they really set us up a great system here that now is seeming to be taken away from us. But when we get to DC, we find out that the whole city, and this is all on record at Library of Congress, we have Thomas Jefferson, and he talked about the most approved plan. Why don't you tell him about the most approved plan?
He threw out some bids because they were trying to, well, they wanted to build the city, and so he was opening up to bids for people to come in and do what they can. And he wanted to have it where it was going to be a pantheon of reconstructed pagan temples to the old gods, which is just like, what? Hold on a second.
That's shocking.
But I mean, on the Library of Congress, you can find that. And when you actually go to DC, and going back to the idea of, we've been taught we're a Christian country, and I just want to go back before I go forward. We definitely are not saying that there weren't, like Justin said, just to reiterate, we're not saying that there weren't Christians at the founding of the country. We're not saying that there weren't, God's always had a move, and this film is not about the Puritans. This film specifically is about the deep state. That's the underlining linchpin that holds the whole film together. Okay, but to move forward, when you go to DC with the mindset of, we're a Christian country, you look around and it's like there's no crosses. There's nothing. You would think that there might be statues of the disciples, or the apostles, but there's none. I mean, you go there and it's like you feel like you're walking around Rome. I mean, literally, or Egypt, and it's like this.
I noticed that.
It doesn't really make sense, but that was the idea. So Thomas Jefferson gets the most approved plan. It goes through, and that's the product. That's what we have in DC. But even more specifically, the way that they did the design was it's like a big ritualistic chessboard with the phallic symbol of the Washington Monument, or the seat. Sorry, ma'am. It's a phallic symbol of Osiris, and it ties right goes all the way back to the Egyptian ceremony of the Festival of Opet, of the Raising of Osiris ritual. And Tom breaks that down on the mall in the between. I mean, literally, like right there in the workings of it, in between the monument and the Capitol Dome. And the Capitol Dome is the belly of Isis, and so it's like this ever-pregnant belly of Isis. And the crazy thing about it is, you want me to keep going on?
Let's specify. This is a lot of information right here. Let's just specify a couple little bit of details before we go further. The most approved plan, if you want to look this up, you can even go, you don't have to go to DC. You can go to the Library of Congress website, and you can find that we show you in the film, how to find this information online at the Library of Congress website. It's called the most approved plan, and the headline is the Temple of Liberty. So the Capitol building, not only were all these other buildings, pagan temples, reconstructed, but the Capitol Dome itself is known as the Temple of Liberty, according to the website of the Library of Congress. What's more fascinating than that is that before the early 1800s, I believe it was, the Statue of Liberty was not called the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty was called the Goddess of Liberty. You see, this revisionist history is changing the game. You look like you want to say something.
No, it's just the Goddess of Liberty rather than the Statue of Liberty. That's interesting. And I just wanted to say we've got almost 6,000 people here, 5,700 people here, 1,700 likes. You guys, if you enjoy this program, please leave a like on this live stream, because we got to get this information out. I know it can be uncomfortable for people, and I don't want people to think that we're trying to say that every single member of our founding fathers was a pagan, or was a theosophist, or was not a Christian. But I mean, it's clear from this information, which again is verifiable, and I want you guys to all sauce this yourselves if you're able to. It's clear that some of them were, and I'm sure if you've seen the layout of Washington D.C., I mean, there's a large pentagram there. And many other things. So let me just give a couple of quick thank yous to the crowd. On PayPal, thank you very much, everybody, for the support. Ken, thank you for that, Ken. Also, thank you to Garrett and Pamela. Penelope as well. I appreciate you guys all supporting the program through PayPal. But please continue. I mean, what other monuments are there? I mean, I was always struck by the fact that it had like either a Roman or a Greek architecture, as well as the Egyptian architecture. But you're right. I mean, there isn't anything overtly Christian there.
There might be. There is a carving of Moses on one of the free J's or whatever. But
he's surrounded by other pagan deities.
Yeah, he's surrounded by every other god in the book. I want to say something about the Temple of Liberty real quick.
Okay.
We were able to get our hands on a bunch of old monographs from, and this is really going to blow people's minds in the film, is that you're going to see things in this film you've never seen before. You're going to see images from Bohemian Grove that have never been surfaced in 4K. You're going to see images, literally, we have 4K images of DC street layout, never before seen. all the stuff that's out there, it's low quality. You can't really see. We've got the real deal. We've even got footage of the 12-foot miniature Washington Monument and the testes of the big monument. That there's a secret Bible bound beneath. Now, everybody watching this probably knows about Dan Brown, and they've probably heard about Dan Brown's lost symbol. Most people don't realize that lost symbol is a Masonic Bible that is bound beneath a magic square beneath a 12-foot obelisk. Now, what's fascinating about this is that an Apollonian square is called a 666 square.
Wow.
This is part of the ancient ritual world. They also have the same magic square above the altar in the Masonic Lodge. We show this in the film too. We were able to get in and get footage inside the Masonic Lodge of DC, the temple room. Because
that's pretty impressive.
Well, we got blacklisted and we prayed. We're like, we just asked God to get us in there. We're like, if it's your will for us to get in there, please make a way. We got in there. And when we were in there, we dropped our second great uncle's name. He's a famous 33rd degree Freemason who's dead now. He's very famous. They had his picture, like, I think 2 or 3 times throughout the lodge.
We didn't know him. Gene Autry.
His famous country western singer. He's dead now, but he's like our second great uncle. So we dropped his name, and they're like, "Oh, we love him here." And sure enough, they've got his photo in several places in the lodge, and he's been to that location. His headstone is just like decked out. 33rd degree. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is they let us in, and we got a little special private tour after the main tour, and the guy let us take pictures and video while we were in there because of who our family member was. He was very friendly to us. So we're not just speculating. We actually saw they've got the magic square surrounded by the logos of ISIS, the symbols of ISIS in the 33 all around the magic square. Now, a magic square, you can line up any of the numbers and any of the you add up all the numbers, and it's always 666. And they believe by putting anything beneath that square, the Freemasons, the high levels, lower level Freemasons, really good guys. There's some really good guys that don't know any better. They've joined this thing.
Right.
We've got friends that are Freemasons that are low level.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to be real clear.
Scott in the chat also said, friendly reminder, something like that. Not all secret societies are Luciferian or satanic. And, what you just made is a very important distinction, too. Not every member of the Freemasons or, the Benevolent Order of Antelopes or the Elks or, whatever the secret society is. Not all of these people are evil because they joined up as members. I too have known Masons in my life, and I can say, these people are not necessarily all evil. It's the high level people. You have to get to a certain point. You have to do certain things to get to that point, and then maybe you're compromised.
It's all compartmentalized. We've
Yes.
got a good buddy who got into it some years ago, and we gave him our warning because we've done a lot of studying on this. But he's like, "Look, man, I'm just getting into it for like a fraternity, to meet up with people. You can get job connections, you name it. It's a fellowship of sorts. But yeah, like you said, you don't find that out until you get up to the upper levels. At the lower levels, I think they call 1 through 3rd porch masons. They're kind of on the outside, so they just kind of keep their distance. And when they go through their rituals, it's like, okay, we're bringing you into this, so we're going to share. This is what this means. But then you get up to a few levels higher, and they're like, yeah, well, this is actually what that means. You weren't ready for this yet, so we're going to go ahead and break you in now. So yeah, it's all compartmentalized.
But let's be clear. Everybody here remember the statues that all came down recently because of the Black Lives Matters?
Yes.
Well, there was only one that Trump asked that we need to resurrect, and that was Albert Pike. Now, I imagine that I don't have any evidence to prove that Trump is a Freemason.
No.
Like, as a matter of fact, I can't find. I've had people tell me, "Oh, Trump's a Freemason." Well, I'm sorry, I can't find that information anywhere. I've looked for it. I can't document that. And quite frankly, if you can't prove something, you really shouldn't be saying it.
But he's probably getting squeezed.
I believe Trump got squeezed by the Freemasons because as we got squeezed by the Freemasons and blacklisted in the city, I imagine he got pressured to put that one statue. Because people are like, "Why that one statue?" Because he is the most prominent 33rd degree Freemason of America, Albert Pike.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Albert Pike wrote a book called Morals and Dogma. If anybody is in doubt about what we're saying, he specifies that in Freemasonry, the god of Freemasonry is Lucifer. He says that in his own book. That is like the Bible of Scottish Rite Freemasonry.
Manly P. Hall, Albert Mackey, they say the same thing.
So the point of this magic square. Oh, anytime, jump in, man.
No, I just real red pill girlfriend was just trying to tell me something, and so I just want to let you know I saw your message, honey. That's great. Love you. Okay, please continue.
So this magic square, and the Apollonian square, the square of Apollo, or the square of Osiris, even if you want to call it that, it's a 666 magic square. The Freemasons believe that it's a binding utility of the ancient world. If you put something underneath it, they believe that it binds like a magic, almost like a magic shell around something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you go to the lodge, and some people watching this video right now, they've been to the lodge in DC. It's a tourist place. People can go visit this. And if you look above the altar where they have all the holy books, they've got the Bible, they've got the Quran, they've got the Hindu scriptures. I mean, all this, everything in there. And they're all beneath the magic square. Well, they believe that by setting up a magic square like that, they're able to bind the power and influence of the Bible. Now, why do you have the other holy books on there? Because the other holy books make it look a little bit more ecumenical, and the first degree ritual of Freemasonry is they have to have all the holy books of everybody who's coming into the craft.
I think to in order to become a Freemason, you just have to believe that there is a higher power, or there is a great architect of the universe.
Yes.
But yeah.
So what's crazy is that they've got another binding utility at the Washington Monument. Now, the Washington Monument is 555 feet above ground. Most people probably know this. 111 feet below the ground, with a totality of 666 feet. And the idea is that this massive shaft, if you will, it's a male sex organ of Osiris. That's the people who created it. That was their goal of having it there, because there's so much Egyptology and Egyptian myth in all of this. But they've got the Bible that Dan Brown wrote a book about. This is crazy. You just can't make this stuff up. They've got the Freemasonic Bible, the lost symbol, bound beneath an Apollonian 666 square in the ground. And they believe that they are constraining the power and the influence of God over that city of DC.
They're attempting to.
They think this is what they want to do.
Yeah.
What
is special about that particular Bible? I mean, is there additional information in it? Does it have some of the books that were taken out, like the Gospel of Thomas or anything like that?
It's your typical Freemasonic Bible. It probably contains the Apocrypha. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But what's special about it is that it's part of the history of this occultism in America, is that they specifically chose that Bible. It's the lost symbol. They chose it. And by the way, Dan Brown was welcomed in. He's not a Freemason, or he wasn't at the time. He got welcomed into the DC Lodge. And matter of fact, he did his studying for that book in their library. We learned that while we were there getting a private tour.
Oh, wow.
So fascinating information. And I want to say this one more time. Just like the Freemasons, just like the founders of this nation, it's just like a company. Look, everybody that worked at Enron was not guilty.
Right.
And I think it's really important to say that, again, not just for our friends and our family, but everyone watching this, their friends and their family. We're never going to lay a blanket statement over a nation or over a race or over a secret society. There's always going to be some people that might not agree. Even in the shadow government, even in the deep state, you're going to have rival factions.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. I mean, and I make this point often. I mean, just because there are bad elements in the FBI or any other number of intelligence agencies in our government, just because it is, several people in there, maybe even a good portion of them, doesn't mean that all of them are. There are so many people who go into federal service because they want to serve their country, they want to, support our nation, and they certainly don't join because they want to, subvert the president, But unfortunately, there are bad people in there, and the thing is, we're trying to root them out. That's what part of the whole thing that we're doing. We've got you guys. We are going to have an opportunity for you to ask Justin and Wes your own questions in about 11 minutes. We're going to be opening up the phones, so make sure that you've got Zoom installed on your computers. We've got 6,349 people here with 2,646 likes. So thank you very much, guys. All right, so, continuing on from where you were at, so they think that they are conscripting the power of the Bible, our God, over Washington, D.C. Is that using God's power, or are they trying to constrain the power and stop it from, being used in a positive way?
It's a 666 square.
Yeah.
You add up the lines in the square, it always equals 666. This is part of their dark magic. They believe that it's binding or constraining the power of the God of the Bible.
They're tapping into the other side here. So, I mean, just as we've been raised to believe we have a biblical worldview. I mean, we've mentioned that many times, as do you. We've been raised in this. We're sure of that fact. We've studied. We've put in our time. We live it. And so they're just as adamant as we are, except it's for the other side. They want to see a different outcome come in. Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with. But there's also, I was going to mention this, there's a paradox, and we've kind of, tiptoed around, not really tiptoed, hinted at it. There's a paradox in America because America, I mean, you go around, there's churches on every street corner. You know, sometimes there's two. But then you look at the Capitol buildings, and there's pagan gods and goddesses up on the top of every Capitol building, and you name it. And specifically in DC, I mean, it's just enamored with this stuff. So there's a paradox, and that's the whole battle, this ongoing battle that's taking place between good and evil, between light and darkness, between God and the enemy. So that's what we're dealing with here.
Can you break down the Raising of Osiris before we go too much further?
Sure. The Raising of Osiris ritual, this is pretty crazy. So it goes back to the festival of Opet back in Egypt. And what you had there was Osiris, and you had Isis, which was his sister and mother, crazy enough, right? So they had this relationship, and the evil brother Set comes in, gets with Osiris. He's jealous. He kills Osiris, chops him up into 14 pieces. He takes the 14 pieces, he throws them in the Nile River, and the fish go after him and eat up, just start gnawing him to pieces. Well, Isis is in mourning. She goes and she collects as many pieces as she can find, but she can only find 13 pieces. She's missing the 14th. So the 14th piece is his phallic symbol, his phallus. So let's just put it that way. So she's like, well, I can't find this 14th piece. So she, I want to say she even takes a piece of herself and fashions it together with basically it's the obelisk, and that's where you get the phallic symbol and the obelisk that you see all over the place. Mm-hmm. So she fashions it all together. She performs this Raising of Osiris ritual, which calls up the seed of Osiris to enter back in, but it's putting it off onto, they used it, she passed it on to the Egyptian magicians. And so for the festival of Opet, with the induction or the inauguration of every pharaoh at the time, they would perform this ritual. So as they're he's floating down, he's doing his little parade, they're performing this, and it was transmogrified. They believe that it actually gives them divine representation in human form. So she's performing this Raising of Osiris ritual for the seed of Osiris to inhabit the current pharaoh.
Possess is a more modern word.
There you go. But go ahead, man.
Just immediately, I'm reminded of that picture of John Podesta with the 14 and the fish on his hand. Okay. That's what this is about.
That's what this is about. That's exactly that. That just completely validates what we're talking about. But she finds the pieces of him in the Nile River, and she fashions together the 13 pieces in a more perfect union.
Then you have the 13 columns.
This is literally the fabric of our nation has been created by these people who follow these rituals. So, like, go ahead, tell about the Pharaoh.
Let's just ask this question. You brought up Podesta. Do you? Why? What's the point of him flashing those hand signs? Like, is he just an Egyptologist? A historian?
I figure that this is a ritual that that must be not only ancient but also being used currently. And when you put it together with the things that we know happen, how many children go missing, I think that this is ongoing.
And that's what we found out. We found out that at the inauguration of
hold on. We're going too far here. We're missing a key piece here. They had to perform this ritual between an obelisk and a dome. Mm-hmm. An obelisk and a dome.
Recreation.
They've recreated the mall in D.C. so they could do this ritual. Wow. This is a massive public ritual, and they do it, and they set it up for every president to be inaugurated in this generator. Remember in Ghostbusters? Was it Ghostbusters 2? 1. Ghostbusters 1, how they talk about the building was a power generator for this occult ritual.
Keymaster of Gozer, yes.
That's what this is. That's what this is. They've created them all. And so the president, he's standing up, he's getting inaugurated, and then you have the Freemasons doing this ritual right around the corner at the Herodome.
So happening concurrently?
Yes. Every U.S. president, the highest level Freemasons, we know it's 33rd degree. They perform, of the Scottish Rite, they perform the Rising of Osiris. The Raising of Osiris. They claim to still have the exact language and elements to perform the ritual just like the magicians. And let me remind everybody, the magicians in Egypt had some serious power. Go back and read the story in the Exodus where Moses and Aaron, where God was doing miracles through their hands, and the magicians in Egypt were able to mimic almost everything they did.
They were keeping up. Yeah.
This is serious business. The Freemasons have been doing this over every president. And now tell them, Wes, what they're doing to the president when they're going through this ritual.
They're they're looking at it the same way that ISIS was, and the same way that the Egyptian magicians were. They believe that this is going to be their divine representation. They're trying to just put it into so that you can view it in like in tangible terms. They're trying to raise up the seed of Osiris to inhabit the U.S. president so that they will have divine representation possessed
here on Earth
in office to represent the United States.
President Trump has thrown a monkey wrench into that.
Well, this is the thing, man. Like,
you can't force a possession on somebody.
Yeah. It's either knowingly or unknowingly, and that probably depends on the president, whoever's in office.
But whether or not the presidents know about it or are in bed with that or
they're
not,
still doing it, and they're trying to.
They're doing this, and what's even more crazy about all of this is that when Obama was inaugurated, Obama went through all of this. Now, Obama didn't just go through the ritual. Now, we have ties to Freemasonry with Obama, absolutely, and many other groups. But Obama not only went through the ritual there, but he had the altar of Baal
This is crazy.
recreated inside of this generator of occult ritual power right there. Y'all remember, and some people said, well, it's just little steps that he had built. No, that was the altar of Baal from the ancient world, the seed of Satan, according to the Bible. And what's crazy is that Hitler had the original. He had it brought from Pergamos. He had it brought from there, set up in Nazi Germany, and he gave his speeches in front of this thing. Well, Obama goes over to Nazi Germany. I'm sorry, modern day Germany. My bad. No offense if you're German. I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry. Slip of the tongue. My bad. I'm German, so I can say it. Okay.
No problem.
So Obama goes over there. He gives this famous New World Order speech that you can find on YouTube, and he says he's standing in the same historic place, and he says we're going to be tearing down the wall between Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And he gets a standing ovation right where Hitler got standing ovations. And it's his famous New World Order speech. And so he did that he basically went through the same ritual that they were going through, but he threw another addition into the ritual. He brought in the seed of Satan for his. And then you had John Cougar Mellencamp that came out and played music on it. I mean, crazy stuff. In the ancient world, they would.
Was this the same historical artifact or altar that Hillary Clinton worked really hard? I mean, there was something that came out in the I believe it was the Podesta emails that Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, was working with UNESCO to preserve this altar and then bring it over to the United States to preserve it. Was this the same thing, or is this something different? That
might be. There was controversy about, because they were talking about having to bring it over piece by piece. I think that might be, but they rebuilt it. It was not the original. I want to be clear about that.
Okay.
But what's even more fascinating about this is that in the ancient world, they would go up those steps. It was the altar of Zeus also. Mm-hmm. If you Zeus was the seed of Satan is also the altar of Zeus. Mm-hmm. You walk up those steps and you would throw your children in the fire. Bunch of child traffickers, bunch of you fill in the blank. Yeah. And these are the people that we're exposing in this film. Right.
Wow.
Now, I want to say, did we drop the bombshell on here about Hillary Clinton, about her birth records? Did we talk about that?
I think we scratched the surface when we were talking about higher entities last time.
Yeah, I believe that. Let's do it. Let's do it. Go for it.
I don't want to end up like Millie Weaver, okay? And I didn't mean to make people laugh when I said that. I'm being serious.
Well, here's the thing. And obviously, if I have no idea what's going on with that Millie Weaver situation. I know that I am against any form of tyrannical rule against people who are journalists, okay? As far as I'm concerned, many people are not necessarily happy with Millie because of her former affiliation with InfoWars. As far as I know, she doesn't work with InfoWars anymore. I believe that she produced this new documentary without InfoWars. So I say, watch it with an open mind. I watched it and I thought that I thought it had some fascinating information in it. I was really shocked to learn that woman Tori that was in there was the one who apparently stole the Obama passport data from while she was working at the Analysis Corporation. I've touched on that many times here on the show. That was pretty shocking to me. And I think that there probably is a whole bunch of good information in there. I say look at everything with an open mind. You use your own discernment to figure out, what's going on there. But what is this bombshell information about Hillary Clinton's birth record?
So you remember when we were on last time, maybe, I know it's been a long time, but we were talking about higher entities, and that there was a ritual that happened on American soil. It was Jack Parsons from Jet Propulsion Laboratory and L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology and science fiction writer. So they performed this ritual over the course of so many years, and the idea was they were trying to get the goddess Babylon to break through, and it was a sex magic ritual, and the idea was that they were going to impregnate a woman, and there was going to be a demonic manifestation that would take place. And that Babylon, the whore of Babylon, would be manifest through that child when the child was born. Now, this took place out in the desert, the California desert. And many people have actually heard about this ritual because of the TV show Strange Angel that's come out.
Oh, I still haven't seen it.
It's pretty dark.
It's pretty dark, man. Protect yourself when you watch it. You know, man. Keep the lights on. No. Anyway, so Jack Parsons there would be no rocket science in America without Jack Parsons. He is the mastermind behind it, and there'd be no NASA. I mean, he is the guy. And he ended up blowing himself up, by the way. We talked about this when we were on last time. So they worked on this ritual, and they were big time in the science and the scientific method. They said that they did this ritual until it finally took. And he wrote about this in his memoirs, and he says specifically that this goddess, this Hilarion entity, appeared to them. The name of the entity was called Hilarion, and it impregnated. It was part of the sex magic ritual. 9 months later, a female was born. And we did our math. We show this. We show photos. We document everything in Belly the Beast Director's Cut. 9 months later, Hillary Clinton was born, ironically at the same time. But there's something else. The reason, the prophecy here, the occult prophecy said that they were going to raise up this moon child, and the moon child was going to be utilized to bring about the reign of the Antichrist. And they thought the Antichrist was a good thing. They said that this Antichrist was going to literally herald. This goes right back to what we said earlier, the writings of Plato, the writings of the Egyptians. I mean, this is literally, Parsons at least was smart enough to know that it was the Antichrist, but he believed that the Antichrist was going to win the war, that he was going to win against God and set up this earthly kingdom. But literally, Hillary Clinton, she fulfilled all of these things. And it's ironic that the name Hilarion was the entity. He wrote this down. I mean, we actually show his writings in the film. I mean, this is so fascinating. 9 months later, here comes Hilarion Clinton being born. And they didn't say that she was going to be the Antichrist. They said that she was going to be the moon child that was she was going to assist in setting up this world kingdom.
Wow. Absolutely fascinating, guys. I got to tell you, if you have not seen this film yet, it is a must watch. Okay, I've seen it twice myself. I watched it once again earlier today in anticipation of this show because I wanted to be fresh on it. And I got to tell you, it's a mind blower. It is an incredible show to watch. All right, so let me just do a quick thank you from Steve. He says, can you ask about Denver Airport symbolism? Obviously, there's a lot of symbolism there at the Denver International Airport, and quite a bit of Masonic symbolism, it seems, as well. Any parallels that you guys have found in your research? Anything specifically about Denver that you can point back to DC?
I've heard there's a lot of underground stuff going on over there.
Yes,
but you've been there, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been there. So I hate to speculate on things. I'll let me give a disclaimer. I'll give an opinion on this. It's not in the film, so this is just my opinion. I've also heard from somebody that claimed to know that there were underground fuel chambers, basically that in an event they could push a button and the whole thing would just come underground. Why? I don't know. But I'll say that the murals and all the things that you see there, they are very eerie. And I believe they were intentional. And if y'all remember, about a year or two ago, they did a total propaganda conspiracy theory ad campaign, mocking people like us and our conspiracy. They call them all conspiracy theories. And they had signs everywhere about the reptilian. I mean, just crazy stuff. So great question. I wish I could give a little bit more. We did not cover that in the film for time's sake. I mean, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes of just truth bombs.
Right. I just dropped the link in the chat one more time. Here is what the film looks like on Vimeo. So just to make sure you guys are watching the correct one, it's Belly of the Beast, the director's cut. This is the one you want to see.
It's got the blue cover.
Yes, it's got the blue cover. Yep, and with the Capitol Dome right there. All right, so we are going to go ahead and bring in our first caller. Let's see. Chris says, "Hey, RP, thanks for the show, brother. These guys are based and warrior-pilled." I have to agree, 100%. Let's see. We're going to be bringing in Quips. one of our Australian correspondents from down under, staying up late so that he can take... he changed his profile again. Quips, go ahead and unmute, buddy. Oh, man.
Sorry, it takes me ages to get sorted here.
Not a
Hey,
problem.
buddy, how are you?
Oh, dude, I'm awesome. How about yourself?
Oh, fantastic. That was my dono, by the way. You guys are absolute warriors.
Oh, good stuff.
man.
I appreciate you there.
man.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to... this show is awesome. Last time you guys were on this show led me to Belly of the Beast, I guess, previous to the director's cut and higher entities. And I think I went on a 2-week bender dig after
man.
that. It was deep and dark. You know, the whole Jack Parsons thing, you know, they never thought Hilarion would lose, which is hilarious. But I just wanted to ask specifically whether you guys, I know you guys are very US centric, which is not a dig at all. You guys have your audience, you guys have your geographic location. I understand that. But I was wondering if you guys had feelers out internationally and if you'd heard anything about my home, Australia, in specific.
I've not heard a whole lot about Australia. I mean, besides some of the things that are going on there currently, but obviously, you know, that's not what you're asking. We have some friends in Australia, but I've not tied a whole lot of our research to Australia. And just because, I mean, like you said, I mean, and we're not trying to just stick to American, because all these things, this is going to be global, as you know. This is a global conspiracy.
It's a far reach. Yeah.
Yes,
Worldwide, baby. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, you know, I tell you, I'll do some digging into that. I'll definitely have a little look and see what I can find. But predominantly, the reason we focus more on the American side and the United Nations side is because we fully believe that America, DC, but America by extension, is going to be that great city of the Bible, that whore of Babylon, the revived Babylon, if you will. And so we believe that it's important to understand what's going on here first. Not to say that there's nothing going on in the other places, but we definitely believe kind of like there's a table with 3 legs. And if you take one of those legs, the table falls down. And we believe those 3 legs is going to be America. We believe it's going to be Israel and the Vatican. That's going to be the Antichrist's table, per se, that he's setting up. That's what I believe.
No, like I said, it wasn't meant as a dig at all. I was just looking for extra information. I specifically, you know, being from here, and I'm an American citizen as well. I'm dual citizen. My father's from...
Nice.
That's awesome.
My father's from Mass. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, they did the stupid thing and gave one of us Australians the Second Amendment. I don't know how that's going to end up for them, but no, I fully intend on fleeing to America after I do my schooling, because I do agree with you. I think that some people, you know, in the elite echelons of the world pay particular attention to America. I think it was set up with a plan. I think the people that make up the population of America are specifically, I guess, that frontier personality that I really adore. Truth seekers, etc. Yeah, America is important in the scope of the world, and I don't disagree. But Australia, however, is still a part of Queenie's crown land. As I'm sure you guys know, the more I delve into my law degree, the more I find out that, you know, she's still at the top of things. Right. So it does reach out here. Like, I realized my state parliament building was originally a theosophy, like I guess hall. Celebration hall. Our major AM radio station, 2GB. The GB stands for Giordano Bruno, who was a theosophy. They were actually set up by the Theosophy Society and all that sort of stuff. So
that's fascinating that you bring up theosophy, because, and as you could probably attest, we've barely scratched the surface of the film. All of these things we've been talking about, we're just scratching the surface. But we do show in the film, we make quite a few references to Manly P. Hall. And Manly P. Hall is you know, not quite Albert Pike level, but he was pretty close. And Manly P. Hall is not only, well, definitely the same level of occultism, but, you know, Manly P. Hall is not adored in all the same circles, I should say. But, you know, being a theosophist, a famous Mason, he did his magnum opus work, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. He literally was sitting down in a library, and he was translating and compiling all these old satanic and occultic works, and the guy never had one bit of education. Like, that's called automatic writing, but automatic like transcribing. He was not formally trained, and he put together a book that is today considered a handbook of Freemasonry, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. But he's the one that went on record to say that Vulcan, the god Vulcan, He's the god that brings the seething energies of Lucifer to the Freemasons' hands. What's fascinating about this is that Vulcan is right up there. If you look up, if you go to the Capitol Dome and you look up at the apotheosis of George Washington, which is the painting, most people have seen that painting of Washington up in the dome. He's surrounded by 72 pentagrams. And that's significant as well because of the 72 fallen angels or the cosmocrators. But what's fascinating is that right up there is Vulcan, the god that Manly P. Hall really made a big deal about. Manly P. Hall is the one that also declared that this king was going to be a god king. Mm-hmm. And this god king was going to be of a supernatural origin. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that you bring up theosophy. Not funny, but ironic, because there's so much that we could really talk about with theosophy. And by the way, Madame Blavatsky, I didn't even say this earlier when Red Pill brought it up, but Madame Blavatsky said that this commencement has already begun in America. Mm-hmm. And that was in her day.
I was going to say this too, back to your original question about Australia. The end result is globalization. And we can, I do want to do a breakdown of the deep state before we get off on by the end of the show. But the end result is globalization. And that's a flat, everybody's a level playing field with, like you were talking about, Justin, the one world king. And as far as I can tell, man, I have, he was mentioning our buddy, we have a good buddy who lives in Brisbane over there. And from listening to him and just trying to keep up with current events, you guys, your police state is so much further advanced than ours is right now. It has been for some time. So
I have a theory there that, I have a theory that Australia is a bit of a testing ground for globalization techniques. And
I would agree with that.
I actually did hear that. We heard that earlier this year. We actually, I'm sorry, you just reminded me. We heard that exact thing earlier this year.
Well, I have that theory, like especially just little things like I caught up early, like in 2012, there was the Trans-Texas Corridor was being massively pushed through the United States, and it was all about Agenda 21, super cities, and all that sort of thing. But years beforehand, the whole concept of foreign companies owning toll roads and infrastructure in general was played out massively in Australia. A lot of our, intercity highways and all that sort of stuff are toll roads owned by Spanish companies and all that sort of thing. So that had to play out here. And then I discovered that all the company buying out all of the alternative media outlets along the Trans-Texas Corridor that were, criticizing it, they were all bought out by a company called Macquarie Bank, which is an Australian company. And I was just like, what? Like I think we're a lot more involved than our antipathy and sort of humility allows us to grasp, I guess.
I agree.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I think I have an evolving theory that Australia was sort of maybe the original Antarctica or like Little St. James when the world was bigger, more disconnected. Australia would have been the perfect place in the tiny little corner of the world that no messages can get in and out of, for months, etc. It's a scary thing to think of, but
there's undoubtedly, thousands of years of history down there in Australia. I mean, the Aboriginal people that live there, I mean, they have some strange connections to the Egyptians as well, don't they? Have you guys ever done any research on this? I've seen what appeared to be Australian hieroglyphics, and I believe it was a representation of the same type of funerary boat that the Australians used. It was found out in the Australian outback, kind of indicating that there had been some sea travel between the two places.
I actually don't know. Yeah. Well, I know a lot of the academic rigor, I guess, is between obviously the geographic nearness of like Southeast Asia. So you've got theories of land bridges from Indonesia and the mainland of Southeast Asia in general. And I guess that connects to a lot of the ancient archaeology of that region as well, with Java Man and all that sort of stuff. But I haven't actually looked into that specifically, but I think I might in the future in terms of my international studies degree as well. But yeah, I just wanted to see if I could pick your brain, and if you ever need another correspondent down under, I'm here. But I love what you guys do. It led me, like I said, to some really, really amazing knowledge, especially about the UN, like you were saying, with globalization being the end plan, theosophy is, and all that occult wizards and witches and warlocks just massively entrenched within the UN. And that led me to the Lima Declaration and the effects that that's had on my country, Australia, with our local industry and farming. And it does. It all leaches globally from antiquitous eons ago all the way to 2020. and it's really insidious. But thank you guys for the work that you're doing in illuminating.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for the encouragement.
Listen, if I might, I don't know. Do you use Facebook or Instagram?
I have a Twitter. That's pretty much all I do these days.
Okay, I don't tweet just yet, man. I'm still in the cage.
That's all right. Look, the longer that you can hold out, the better. Twitter is a noise sphere. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, man, I appreciate the chat. Appreciate that. Thank you.
No, anytime. I'll be back next time you guys are on for sure. And Red Pill, thank you again for having an amazing show, dude.
Well, thank you, Quips. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks again for calling in.
Dude,
right.
love you.
Love you too, brother. See ya. Also, another fellow Aussie, my buddy Crypto Beast. He says that they have found Egyptian. I'm sorry, he's New Zealand, but or maybe you know what, Crypto Beast has. I don't remember if you're from Australia and now you live someplace else, or yeah, but whatever. Either ways, he's down under. He says they have found Australian artifacts, Egyptian artifacts down in Australia. Now, Sassy Girl in a super chat from PayPal, she says. Sassy Gal, do they believe Trump is going to bring all this down, and will he be successful? What do you guys think about President Trump's role in all of this?
That's a really good question. I think being a Bible believer, and some people may not agree with me here, but being a Bible believer, I don't believe that one man is going to stop the end times prophecy. Like the Bible says that there will be an antichrist. There will be a global setup. Just like what they're forcing. I can say this, I believe that a president could bring a reprieve. I believe that, there have been great men and women in our past who have stepped up and fought for things that were right. And I think that when somebody stands up and fights and we pray, because guys, I don't want to see this in my lifetime. Let me be real clear. I don't want to see this. I hope that President Trump can bring some type of reprieve here.
We pray this. Okay?
Yeah, I pray for our leaders, even the ones I don't like.
He's got his hands full regardless.
Yeah.
And I don't fully understand what's going on with Trump right now. There's a lot of theories, about that kind of cryptic message that he gave about there's a lot of people in high places that want him dead, or I don't remember what it was, but
yes, it's made a lot of enemies. He said, yeah.
And so I'm not trying to be negative, but as a Bible believer. Now, the bottom line is, I believe the end of the Bible is true. Jesus returns, and that's what we hope for. We look forward to that. At best, good people can stand up and bring a reprieve, people that are praying. But essentially, there will come a time where there will be this end times global empire, according to the Bible. I don't want it to happen, but it's got to happen.
Yeah, it's being built. It's being built today, and it's being set up for that world king that they want to bring in. We just don't know how far away we are from that world king coming into play.
But when you see that this is a deep state operation, that this is what the shadow government has been working for, that they literally built this nation for this purpose. And by the way, we didn't say this earlier, but they were actually fulfilling much of what was written about by Sir Francis Bacon in the book called The New Atlantis.
I was actually going to bring that up. Sir Francis Bacon, perhaps might have been William Shakespeare himself. Also,
I think so.
Yeah. Also translated the Bible into a certain volume and added a whole bunch of Masonic stuff to it. I would like to get your thoughts on that stuff specifically. I just need to say thank you very much to Hunter on PayPal for that super chat. Also, we've got our next caller, Sweeta. Sweeta, go ahead and unmute, and welcome once again to the broadcast. Be happy to get your question for the Faull Brothers.
Yeah, I actually have an observation.
Okay.
Now, if you see, Jesus was tortured, and then they drank his blood. That is also something, in the lines of adrenochrome. Torturing him and then drinking his blood. So the person, the whole ritual around, torturing and killing him and then drinking his blood is something similar to adrenochrome.
I mean, I can see where you draw the comparison. I mean, to me, in my mind, it's two different things. I mean, it's drinking the blood of Christ. Is different from the treatment that he received on the cross. I mean, he died for our sins, and here we're drinking his blood and eating of his body in remembrance of him. But I mean, I can see. I mean, this is one of those things that they could have done. They could have added that into our religious rituals as you know, a dig, essentially. I mean, in the same way that they perform certain rituals and then they put little hints at them in popular culture and stuff like that. So as a hypothetical, guys,
the Romans, you know, they were involved in some pretty weird stuff. I mean, you know, orgies, unbelievable things that we aren't even going to talk about. But the Romans were known for doing some really dirty things. We know that Jesus was tortured. We know that he literally went through the worst type of treatment that anyone could ever go through. And he did it all so that, you know, we could have a relationship with God. Mm-hmm. And so there's no telling what they did. We know that they played dice basically for his clothes. Mm-hmm. You know, that's in the Bible. I will say this. I'm not Roman Catholic. I'm Protestant. I don't necessarily follow the Eucharist. I believe in the Lord's Supper, a little bit different in belief. But regardless, if you follow one or the other, they both stem from Scripture where Jesus had his last meal with his disciples. So I'm very confident that is an actual do this in remembrance of me. Mm-hmm. I think that's what Jesus said. But as to your original question, I think it's possible. We don't know what the perverts did. Right. They were totally perverted in the way they treated him and what they did to him. But here's the good news. We know that on the third day he rose and he defeated death and he made a way for all of us. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Good stuff.
I have a request for Red Pill.
Okay.
And now I found the email ID of Karen M. Stewart, who's a whistleblower from NSA. She worked for the NSA from 1982 to 2010, and she was an intelligence analyst and wrote reports. Her email ID is KAMS56, KAMS.
KAMS 56?
56 at me.com.
KAMS 56 at NE or ME?
Me.
Oh, at me.com. At me.com. Okay, great. NSA whistleblower, that would be wonderful to speak with her.
She also happens to be a targeted individual, so it would be really useful for the targeted individual community to have her, an interview with her.
Okay.
And Roger Tolsis, he's a private investigator from America. I have his phone number. I'm not sure whether I should be giving it on air.
Oh yeah, don't give it to me on air. I wasn't able to find his email, but if you have his phone number, send it to me in an email, and I will get it at the end of the show.
If you go to his website, if you just Google his name, you'll get bugsweeps.com.
Yes.
His phone number is the first thing on top of the website.
Okay.
Anyways,
all right.
I will anyways be sending an email immediately after this show.
Okay.
And Eric Karlstrom is ERICKARLSTROM at fairpoint.net.
Okay. Eric Karlstrom at fairpoint.net and bugsweeps.com. Got it.
That's for Roger Tolsis. Now a lot of footage is taken around me, me being a targeted individual and everything. Mm-hmm. Any foul play, I think comparison with the infrared movement detector footage that comes from my house, the comparison from that would, catch the foul play. Also, I was wondering if, there are among the community surveillance members, if there are coders over there who could, identify, sort of hacks into YouTube or YouTube comments or, or even the footage. I'm sure the technicality, there must be some people with technical acumen who could, catch, such foul play that happens around me.
Okay.
Also, it's not AI. It's definitely not the work of AI, any foul play that's done around me. It becomes a very convenient excuse that it could possibly be AI. They know how to create a wedge between me and my supporters, or people who, support me, or, people I have a communication link with who I could, bring other target individuals bring other targets to a platform with. So I was just wanted to mention that infrared movement detector comparison with that footage, and also, if there are coders who could catch any technical, who could review the technical, YouTube code and find out if there's a hack or something like that.
All right. Well, Sweeta, as always, thank you for your call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, have a great night. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, awesome. I'm looking forward to getting hold of that whistleblower. Coming up next is E. Alex Patoot III, bring him in. Let's see. We hit 7,000 people there just a few minutes ago.
Nice.
Yeah, back down to 6,700, but appreciate everybody who is here. Thank you very much to the mods for keeping the chat comfy. Appreciate everybody who is participating. Thank you for keeping it clean in the chat. And it looks like our caller is on the line. Alex, are you there?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
What's going on, man?
What's up, Alex?
Very good. Thanks for your call. What's on your mind?
Okay, so I have been part of a podcast, and I was on the guys with Journey to Truth pretty recently, and I'm also a Yorkite Mason, as you can see on my ring right here.
Mm-hmm.
I've been part of Freemason for a while, and I'm part of the Grand Lodge of Louisiana, and this is kind of first off, I cannot wait to watch our video. Absolutely cannot wait to watch your video.
What city are you in? If you don't mind
I'm
me
in
asking.
Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge.
Okay. Our dad. Go ahead.
And I've been a part of Masonry for a while, and I've known a lot of the people who are part of Grand Lodge, okay, the higher ups in Louisiana. And I'm just going to say that, yeah, there are some people that I've met that's like, I know that they know stuff that I don't ever want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've met, like, there's one specific Grandmaster of Louisiana that is a good guy. And he might have seen some things, but I know that his heart is in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, first off, I'm just happy to be part of this amazing program that's going on right now, because I think the world needs to know that, yeah, there are some bad things, but there's also some good things. And just like in anything, you have to find the balance. You have to find the balance. And you have to, this is my opinion, realize that those young men who do come into Freemasonry at the very beginning in their EA degree, they don't know anything. They know nothing, but they're coming in on faith.
Right.
And it's that same faith that as Christians we believe in the goodness of what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about Trump real quick and Trump's connection to Freemasonry. And this is, and I haven't really researched it per se, but if you go back to Trump's inauguration, in his speech, the first lines he says, because I don't know, I don't remember specifically, but it's just how good and wholesome it is for brothers to dwell together. And that line is one of the first lines ever said in the EA degree. And for you to say that he did not know that, I think he knew that. And
hey, look, I'll be clear. Like, I think that when you're at that level of power that Trump is, I mean, before he was the president,
He rubs shoulders with everybody.
he's a world-class businessman.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the guy, I mean, let's just be honest for a minute. The guy knows business. International business, you're going to have to brush shoulders. You're going to have to build relationships, much of which happens in the lower levels of the lodge. You're building relationships. And I'll say this, the lodge does a lot of good things locally. And I know this, that you being in Louisiana, your city and your town, your lodge might be completely different than the lodge that we have over here.
Right.
Even the books that they have on the altar. I'm just being totally honest, because I've got family that's Freemasons. I've got a chest full of hand-me-down Freemasonic literature that you can only get in the lodge. And I realize that most of the lower level Freemasons never anticipate getting up to the 28th to 32nd degree. That's where they start really unpacking a lot of the teachings of Albert Pike, Manly B. Hall. And that's where you get into, and I don't want to, I'm not going to, out of respect to you and out of respect to Red Pill, I'm not going to give details on this, but I'll encourage you to do a little research on the ritual that you have to go through to become a 32nd degree Freemason.
I would also point out that President Trump has a team of speechwriters, and
absolutely,
so I mean, it's very possible that he didn't write a single word in his acceptance speech there, and more often than not, I know that President Trump interjects and he will go off the cuff from time to time, stop reading the teleprompter, I would say probably by and large, every prepared, a piece of literature that he's reading, at a podium, it was probably, well crafted and put together by, several people. And, the chances of there being a Freemason on his team of speechwriters is really likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. Look, I know you guys have a lot more people to talk to. Red Pill, thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
I'm glad just to have this little moment to say hi to you guys. And I'm going to throw something out to you guys about Louisiana and its secret. Paul McElhenney was the last bloodline of Tabasco. Now, when Paul McElhenney died, in his obituary, it said that he was part of Bohemian Grove. Now,
I like Tabasco sauce.
The one hot sauce that has been international, it comes from a little island off of the coast of South Louisiana. How did that hot sauce get so connected? The reason it got so connected was because how many other McElhennys through the lineage were all part of Bohemian Grove in some way, shape, or form. And look, Louisiana, the state flag, comes from the Rose Croix degree in the Scottish Rite.
Right.
If you look at, and I've had people in the higher up in the Scottish Rite confirm that. And then if you look at the Louisiana State Capitol building itself, oh my gosh, like it is so. It has four angels representing the four parts of your oh my gosh, I'm losing myself right now. But just Louisiana is so in Albert Pike. Albert Pike was master of the lodge in New Orleans. And what was New Orleans? New Orleans was the real sin city of America. Before there was Las Vegas, there was New Orleans. It was a pirate town, and now the money that was in New Orleans. So people don't do enough research in Louisiana, and I'm telling you, I think there's so many secrets about Louisiana that haven't been discovered yet. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to watching that movie.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex. Beautiful baby. I love you. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it, man. We got some issues with the audio, but thank you very much for calling in. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Right. I love Louisiana. Yes, oh man, Louisiana is one of our favorite places to go. New Orleans, the French Quarter, Cafe Du Monde. I want to say this real quick.
Go ahead.
Back when this is just another deep state little nugget about Louisiana. Back when George W. Bush was president. See, people don't realize the conspiracy surrounding Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, okay. Blowing the levees.
Can I drop this real fast? We have time for this?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is unrelated.
Alex, I'm going to let you go so we can go to the next caller, but keep listening, okay? We'll talk to you soon. All right, hear it off the air. Go ahead.
You had the Louisiana Purchase, and part of the original Louisiana Purchase deal was that no one could ever, you can buy this land, but you can never declare martial law on it. Okay, that's part of the Louisiana Purchase. Well, Bush, being a deep state operative, being a shadow government operative, he comes in. They knew a year in advance. Matter of fact, the Houston Chronicle published that they knew, but because of their tracking, that they knew that Louisiana was going to be underwater if they didn't start making some plans because of this hurricane coming in.
Yeah. Not
only did they know about the hurricane a year in advance, they planned on it happening just like it happened. They sent divers down to blow up the levee. My girl at the time, my ex-girlfriend now, her family lived down there in the flooding area. They literally flooded it all out. They created the pandemic, if you will, of Hurricane Katrina. It would not have been anything like it was. And they did this, I believe, so they could literally defy the Louisiana Purchase. And the deep state basically says, we will declare martial law wherever the heck we want to.
No, it makes sense. And many people were asking what Alex was saying. He was essentially saying that there are some deep Masonic ties down there in Louisiana, lots of things to uncover, and perhaps you guys can do a film about that stuff, specifically Louisiana, in the future. I'm also getting word, it looks like in the chat, that Robert Trump has passed, the brother of President Donald Trump. He had been in the hospital a couple of weeks ago, and then apparently he was admitted again very recently. So obviously prayers for Robert Trump and prayers for the president. Chris Hawkins is going to be our next caller. Haven't heard from Chris for a while. Good stuff. Looking forward to that. So yeah, that's really sad about President Trump's brother. That's That's awful. Chris, waiting for you to get your microphone on. Make sure you've got the stream muted in the background so that you're getting the audio through the Zoom call and not through the stream. Also, Daryl says, is the book The Secret all just occult magic? The Secret, I've always assumed that The Secret was kind of, part of the theosophical revolution that took hold in the 20th century. Any thoughts on that, you guys?
Yeah, The Secret is
New
actually
Age.
it's a repackaged version of what used to be called New Thought.
Right.
Okay.
If you want to know the origins, it's definitely occultic. It's not Christian whatsoever. It gets back into the writings. I mean, Norman Vincent Peale was big into this whole New Thought idea. It's also been woven into a lot of modern American Christianity, which that's why we got to test everything.
Mm-hmm. All right,
Great
Chris.
question.
Chris, you're on the air. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome, brother. Good to hear from you again, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. Been real busy. All you guys getting your stimulus checks and ordering stuff has kept me busy at work.
Well, job security, man. I'm glad to hear it. So
I didn't get a stimulus check.
Yeah, me either. But so what's
Wes
on your
got
mind
one.
tonight? What's on your mind tonight, Chris?
Hey, well, as you know, Red Pill, I worked at Denver International, so I thought
That's
maybe
right.
I could shut there. Not a whole lot, but there's rumors of they dug way too deep as to what Denver International was supposed to be. That there's secret tunnels. Hey, we know that is most likely true.
Well, I know it's also millions and millions of dollars. I mean, wasn't it actually like over $1 billion by the time they were done, but just well over budget?
Well over budget. And the funny thing is the international airport that was before Denver International was just fine. It worked just fine. They built it for whatever reasons we don't know. But the artwork in there is very creepy. In fact, there was a number of artists, because one artist couldn't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
There was one artist that had a mural of the Twin Towers being hit with airplanes.
Yep.
Well, why would you put that in another airport? That's just creepy. But I've been down in the depths of Denver International, and I don't know how far down it goes. I don't know about secret tunnels, but it goes down deep. It was supposed to have the first fully automated baggage system, and that's not that interesting. But that's one reason why they went so deep. It takes lots of machines to do it fully automated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I was living in Denver, where I was renting a room from, a roommate was a surveyor, and they are surveying hundreds of miles around Denver International. Now that's massive. You have JFK in Florida, and it's not nearly that big. So they're doing a lot of prep work for whatever's going on in Denver.
They went to great lengths to make sure that it was very, very far away from civilization. And like you said, the original Denver International Airport was working just fine. There was no reason for them to build this out. And, I think with the amount of time that it took them to build it, it was way over schedule. The amount of money, it was way over budget. The amount of earth that they moved out of there, and then I've heard tales of people, like they had people coming and going in shifts. They wouldn't have anybody working there for too long. Right. So that they wouldn't know exactly the extent of what was taking place there. And then you throw in, as the cherry on top, all of the strange occult, art and architecture. Like you said, even that campaign that they did, making fun of, people for conspiracy theories talking about Denver International Airport. It's clear. And then the New World, Airport Corporation or whatever it was called, it's one thing after another.
Right. And the dark horse, when you first started arriving to Denver, you have the dark horse with glowing red eyes. That's a bit creepy.
Yes. Killed the artist too, right? The sculpture fell over on top of the artist and killed him.
They told him to not be there, and he said, "I'm the artist, I get to be there." And he got too close, and it slipped and squished him.
Yep.
And Anubis, they had the statue of Anubis, the Egyptian god of the dead, out there for a while, and they had a whole cover story for why it was sitting out there. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great information. That's crazy that you work there, man. I've been there, but
I loved working
nice
there too. It's a great place. Most of the people there, it's really great. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful airport. But now that I know more about it, it's beyond creepy. But I wanted to tell you guys, man, I bought your movie when it first came out, and I got the director's cut, and you guys are effing amazing.
Oh man,
Thanks, bro. Thanks, brother.
Like I was telling Red Pill about a month ago, and it's been a little while, Red Pill, it's been a month, maybe two, that there was stories where the giants running with the bison and pulling legs off and chewing on it and all kinds of other stuff. You know,
That's
you
right.
get into the mound builders, you know, we'll never know the full story of the mound builders. But what's happened in America is a bunch of stuff that leads way back. And
Absolutely.
We tend to think of our nation as a baby nation. You know, we
Right.
think 1770.
Well, it is.
Yeah, I mean 1776, right? But
Right.
we are an ancient continent that the ancient world knew all about, and there was so much going on here. I mean, the stuff that we show in Belly of the Beast director's cut, like some of the old images of the symbols from the Native Americans. I mean, that it blew my mind when I first found out about the ancient Freemasonry. I mean, and it wasn't York, it wasn't Scottish Rite, it was just straight up like ancient Freemasonry. You know, it blows my mind. And,
Somebody had to teach it to them.
yeah. And like DeWitt Clinton said, you know, the former mayor and governor of New York, I mean, he said that they have ancient fortifications that they found, which we obviously have no reference of nowadays, but he's on record saying that to the New York Historic Society. You know, the amount of news that we get today is so filtered compared to what they used to talk about back in the early days of this nation.
Sure.
So, man, thanks so much, Chris. That's
Appreciate
awesome,
that.
brother. Man, thanks for
Oh,
the
Hey,
good
man,
words.
Hat tip and for high fives, man. If I ever get to meet you guys, I'll buy you a beer and I don't know, man, a steak or something.
Like
So,
that, man.
Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate that, man. God
All right,
bless
Chris.
you.
Thanks for your
Much
call,
love.
brother.
Yes, absolutely.
God
Anytime.
bless. Talk to you soon, man. Peace.
Awesome.
All right, good stuff. All right, guys. We've got about 20 minutes left. 6,700 people here. 3,881 likes. Please consider leaving a like on the program. Appreciate you guys. Next coming up, it is Denise. Denise is one of our UK correspondents. Listen, I see a lot of people have noticed that I got in-ear monitors rather than the giant headphones. And it appears that people like them. They are red. I thought that I thought that was appropriate for the show. But I never thought about, I mean, I wore the headphones. So it gives me the best sound. These are not nearly as good of sound as those Sennheiser headphones. I'm gonna miss them. I'm gonna be honest. But I figure, this really does. I guess it's more appropriate for the show. Maybe if I have a show sometime where it's me sitting around with a couple of people, then I'll go back to the headphones. But for right now, for these interviews, I think this is good. Let's see. Denise, are you there?
I'm here.
Excellent. Welcome back to the show. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I've got a little tidbit for your two guests that they might enjoy having a dig into. Have you ever heard of Göbekli Tepe?
Göbekli Tepe, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Dates back to 12,000 years ago. So it's approximately 8,000 years older than the pyramids and 7,000 years older than Stonehenge, to put it in perspective. It was only discovered, the first diggings of it in 1963. If you're aware of this place, you'll be aware of that. And it's being dug on now. It's not a place where people lived, it's temples. Mm-hmm. And these temples, there are blocks in them. If you can imagine this, the 6 meters tall T-shaped stone pillars carved with reliefs. And also they're in deciphering this, they found out that, they're surmising that they think that it was the place where Adam and Eve settled after being banished from the Garden of Eden, because it's proven to be a place where wheat was cultivated for the first time. And the Bible says that Adam was the first to cultivate the wheat after he was banished.
There was also some strange animal reliefs on some of those pillars.
The pillars. Yeah, because it's Neolithic. It's Neolithic. It predates Stonehenge. It predates the pyramids. And if you saw pictures of it, you just wouldn't believe. I mean, it's astounding to imagine how the pyramids and Stonehenge was built. But these pillars are thousands and thousands of years before them. And as you've said, they've got these carvings on them of animals, etc. And they're deciphering carvings on it, and they've come up with, they think that this is where Adam could have been banished from the Garden of Eden to. For your listeners that aren't aware, this place is in Turkey, and Turkey is very rich in ancient history. And you all know by now that I'm a real history nut, ancient history especially.
Absolutely.
And I only came across this information about this place about 3 days ago, and it's blown my mind from what I've dug into it. So have your guests ever looked at this place? Have the brothers ever looked at this place?
Have you guys ever looked into Göbekli Tepe?
Yeah, I just want to say this. Like, this is completely on point to our conversation, and it's evidence, because we believe that there were in the ancient days and civilizations past, there were the gods of old, and mankind worshipped them. And if you look in the Bible, these are the sons of God that Psalms 92, Psalms 82 talks about. The divine council. It parallels with what happened at Babel when they were dispersed. God put them under and allotted the men to the number of the sons of God. And these sons of God are the fallen angels because they received worship. And so that's why we have all these different ancient civilizations, these fortifications that you can find all over the globe. That's just another prime example, which gives more evidence and parallels with our study going into the God of America being Amru.
Now,
yeah.
Briefly, can you tell them, tie that back into the 72 pentagrams?
Yeah, so that also parallels with the different esoteric and the occult beliefs of the 72 cosmic craters. You can see the parallel between that and moving into the apotheosis with the 72 stars. And there were 72 conspirators. This is even crazier. 72 conspirators or fallen angels that conspired with Set to kill Osiris.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. This place isn't ruins. It was buried. It was buried under sand, and they're thinking that it was buried by the same people who built it. So it's not a place that's fallen to ruin, been abandoned and fallen to ruin. It was built, used, and then buried under sand.
Yeah, not known whether or not they buried it to protect it, or if they buried it because they didn't want anybody. Yes, to hide it. They didn't want people using it any longer.
Hidden history, as they say. But yeah, I just thought that I'd bring that up because I think if your listeners could, if you looked into. I can't get I'll lose my false teeth if I try and say it again. If your listeners look into this place, I think they'll be floored, because I have been over the past 2 or 3 days. Anyway, that was it.
Thanks, Denise.
All right.
That's awesome. That's very relevant. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Denise, as always, thank you for your call, and we will talk to you again very soon.
Okie dokie doke.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye.
All right, good stuff. So, you guys, I just want to say we've got 11 people on the phone still. I know we're not going to be able to get to everyone, but we have to talk about Bohemian Grove a little bit here, because
can we go just a few minutes over? Is that okay?
Yeah, as long as that's okay with you guys, I'm good with that as well. But
dude, this is Red Pill 78, bro. This is Red Pill 78. You break the rules.
Let's do it. So let's talk about Bohemian Grove. That's
Wes's jam.
There's so much mystery surrounding it, and we've all heard things, we've all seen the footage that came out of there, but you guys said you had new images from Bohemian Grove, new information. Let's talk about that before we go to the next caller.
I'm going to speed through this really fast because I want to get to Bohemian Grove, but this has to be stated first.
Okay.
The deep state. Everybody hears the deep state. It's a household name. When you look into it and you research it, you find out that it's a little bit more complex than what people have in their mind. So we're familiar with the first level of deep state, the legislative branch, the bureaucracy, how we're going to deal with international and domestic issues, what have you. But Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis breaks this down in the film. He talks about the second level influences the first level. So the second level is going to be your think tanks. It's going to be your secret societies. It's going to be your deep-pocketed elitists who are supporting Black Lives Matter and other organizations that are out there to basically cause whatever chaos that influences the first level. Underneath that level, you have the spirit realm. And so the spirit realm is influencing the second level, which is influencing the first level, which is pushing that out on the world stage for the globalization, the idea for that, to build this final world kingdom that we're looking at. So with the rituals, that's where we go into Bohemian Grove in the film. And the rituals is how they tap into the dark side. They tap into the other side to be able to get power and to get direction, to be able to, again, influence the second level and the first and the world to conform it to that image. So Bohemian Grove, I'm sure that your viewers are familiar with it. Alex Jones did blow it wide open. You got to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, he infiltrated, and that's some just insane footage. It blew my mind, and it was early on when we saw that too. It's like you don't want to crack your teeth on that.
Right.
Or break your teeth on it, however they say that. But with Bohemian, we did, and it's been a long, strange trip since then. But with Bohemian Grove, so you have this giant stone owl that's out in the middle of the redwood forest in California. The elitists of all over the world meet out there once a year, and they have this encampment, and it's where they come, and you can find with the images that we show, it goes past the left-right paradigm. So you've got presidents from history past. We've got pictures of Nixon out there, and pictures of Ronald Reagan out there. You've got media moguls that meet out there. The who's who of the world get invited as an all-male encampment. They might have allowed females to come in now. I don't know, but it stems from the Bohemian Club in San Francisco. Yeah. Okay, so this encampment, they do this. We focus on the cremation of care ritual because that's the mind blower. If you look at this and you see it for what it is, it's nothing more or nothing less than a high place, the groves of the Old Testament. And they have this massive stone owl out there, and they do what appears to be either mock or real human sacrifice. We tend to believe that it's real human sacrifice because if you're going to get the elitist of the world to go out there, why would it be anything less? And then If you go a step further, we know that the majority of them are, pedophiles, and it's sickening what we know that's been proven that they're involved in. It would just make sense. But regardless if it's real, if it's fake, they're out there and they're reveling in it. And they offer these sacrifices out there to release care, to basically, what happened? Did we lose them?
No, the caller just did put screen sharing. Untitled 82, don't do screen sharing. I think he's looking for his microphone. Untitled 82, if you look down on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, there's the mute button. There's a little arrow to the right of that mute button. You click that, and then you'll be able to choose your microphone, and then we'll bring you in just as soon as Wes is done talking about Bohemian Grove. But yeah, please continue.
Sure, and I'll try to get it all in a nutshell here.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have presidents of history past, even going back to even more current. You've got both Bushes have been in attendance there. But the kicker is the images that we were able to locate. And as Justin was mentioning, we found the highest quality images that you can find.
They were negative film scans.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Wes stumbled. Now this is crazy. Wes somehow found them on a back door on a Berkeley website. Berkeley University.
It took a long time to actually sift through, but these pictures go back to
it's like old school HTML.
It's like 1901, 1903. I think it was a collection of images by the same photographer, if I'm correct about this, which I think it is. So yeah, we start to look in this, and there's images of different rituals. I mean, it's disturbing. Some people actually, there's not like video of an actual just gruesome rituals being done. I mean, we try to make it a little bit more friendly than that.
There's some
but
images.
there's some. It's very disturbing. I'll just put it that way.
We've gotten some negative feedbacks from some people that were very sensitive, and they said that they wish they would not have seen some of the images.
But it needed to be thrown out there to show you how serious this is.
There's humans being what appears to be like burned at the stake. Humans. There's people being hung from trees. And back in the early 1900s, African American, black-skinned individuals would not have been welcomed out there. And there's pictures of black men.
They're not going to willingly participate in something.
There's black men out there fully clothed, laying down on a ritual board with candles around them. What's that all about? I don't think that they were out there voluntarily. I'm just making the point that some of these images are very, very disturbing, and that's a part of the film that might cause some people to cringe a little bit. But we felt it very important to show it because, look, Alex Jones ambushed Gherkin. Richard. I was getting.
Oh, I know. I know who you're talking about. He was. He's still
David
on
Gherkin.
David Gherkin.
David Gherkin.
He's still on TV as a talking head, and he was an advisor to multiple presidents. I believe Bill Clinton,
Republican and Democrat.
Yeah, Republican and Democrat. Yes.
And so this guy,
he verifies.
He verifies that it's a legitimate thing. He says that he was out there. He had an interview where he says he was out there, but didn't run around naked like the rest of the guys.
Yep.
But what's fascinating about that whole scenario is that Robert McGinnis says that they do in fact set policy out there. This is the guy that works in the Pentagon.
Well, a prime example is Colin Powell, and when the whole the WikiLeaks things were going on, Colin Powell's email said that he went out to Bohemian Grove and they voted to be against Trump.
Yeah, they were
not going to support him.
They were going to try to do some things to stifle his election, basically.
Right.
And that got leaked. I mean, Breitbart covered that.
Yep.
But to tie it into how the hierarchy of the deep state, you would have Bohemian Grove would be like that third level, because that's where they're going out and doing the rituals to be able to get direction and focus of what they're going to do for the year. Now, on the second level, you would say that'd be more like your secret societies, but also that's where Bilderberg would probably fit in. And these are the tri-level of the deep state. So it's a little bit more complex than most people think.
And I want to make one more comment on Bohemian Grove. Many people have mislabeled this giant idol that's out there. They've called it Moloch. Okay, Moloch is in the Old Testament. It was a Canaanite deity that they passed their children through the fire. They basically sacrificed their kids to. And Alex Jones, made the mistake of telling everyone that was Moloch. But our research has shown one of the themes of Belly of the Beast Director's Cut is that we show that America was set up to reinstate the worship of old gods and the old goddess. And the old goddess being a singular, a plural, basically a mother goddess.
Archetype divine feminine.
Right, archetype divine feminine. And we show how that was always the case up until the late 1800s when they started calling it the Statue of Liberty. But what's fascinating is that you find this witchcraft goddess. And in the ancient world, she was always found with these two owls, or with a single owl by her side, a small owl compared to her. The witchcraft goddess had it a lot. I mean, this is just unbelievable. That's the owl that they have out there. Like, that's why they have the owl. And the owl is also the logo of the Bohemian Club in San Francisco.
And you got the owl on the dollar bill. I mean, there's different things.
The owl is not Moloch.
The overhead view of DC, there's an owl as well.
And in the mall area, you've got the owl carved out into the grass. Right. We show that in 4K in film. It's very important to understand that there's been a lot of people that have put out a lot of information over the years. Belly of the Beast has corrected some of that information. We're not mocking anybody. We're just trying to set the record straight on some of these things.
No offense taken, guys. You guys do great research. Now, Untitled 82, it looks like you still haven't figured out how to get your microphone working. Can you hear me? Shake your head if you can hear me. All right, I don't believe he can hear me either. I'm going to put him back in the waiting room, and we'll see if he can get it figured out. We'll bring somebody else in. We're going to bring in Alicia next and see what Alicia has to say. Looks like RDoc. Oh, you know what? You guys, I forgot. RDoc is on right after me. That's okay. Yeah, I don't want to step on RDoc's toes, so we'll go ahead and we'll wrap it up after Alicia here. I just need to say thank you to Alicia. Go ahead and mute your stream in the background. Hey Jude says this is for NORAD. A jet stopped a small plane near Bedminster. I guess that must have happened tonight. Also, Marianne says, ask if they know anything occult on President McKinley. We'll get that after we speak with Alicia. Alicia, go ahead and unmute here. And what's your question for the Faull Brothers?
Hey, guys. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys. So I have a question. I actually have a small website that I put together videos, and I'm actually putting together a video on Antarctica right now.
Nice.
I've done some study before about the connection between Antarctica and Egypt and the Nazis and UFOs. And I found something kind of fascinating about history with the Nazis when they were in Antarctica with their flagship, the Schwabenland, went missing for a certain amount of time. And it just so happened that the dates that the ship went missing, it was something like April 1942 to August 1948 or something like that. But it just, or 1943. But it just so happened that those same dates aligned with when they were doing experiments at the Dachau concentration camp. And they were doing hypothermia experiments where they were like freezing people and thawing them out and a lot of disgusting stuff. But so, and I've heard people talk about, some people claim to have found like sleeping giants in stasis in Antarctica. And so my jury is still out on how much of that stuff I actually believe or not, but I wanted to know what you guys might know, how much you know about what's actually going on down there. I know that it's a really mysterious place and that people keep going down there for some strange reason, but I was wondering what you guys may know about that.
Yeah, in Hollow Earth Chronicles that we did, that was the film that we released in 2017. We've talked about it quite a bit online, but we do a full segment on the Antarctica and what took place with the Nazis and Operation High Jump. There is a part of there, we do mention that British intelligence, some of the soldiers that were down there, they were told specifically to stay in certain places. And that's how it is. When you go down there, you're pretty much, you're stationed, you're set up in certain places. The reports came back from some of the British intelligence that they saw what we would call, and now this is going to just, some people are going to laugh at this, I get it, but they are on record to say they saw things that they would only know how to call it as like a Yeti. Now, I've never been to Antarctica, but we really did a lot of work vetting the information that we put in the film, and that's a pretty widespread belief. These were like soldiers that were, I mean, these guys can live in the ice. They're trained to put their bodies through intense warfare. They came back freaking out about some of the creatures that they saw down there, and they definitely mentioned something along the lines. They said if they had to call it something, they would have described it as like what the mythology of like a Yeti would be.
But Admiral Byrd, in his diary, and it's also documented, we do a little, it's almost like an old radio show version in Hollow Earth Chronicles. And he documents in that it was like an area of Greenland. It was like flourishing.
Oh, that was the North Pole.
Was it?
Yeah, that was the North Pole.
Okay, well, I take it back then. but he did make it to both. Yeah, he did make it to both. It's
and both scenarios, he saw some very strange things, according to even some of his family. And Admiral Byrd, speaking of Freemasons, he was a Freemason, and his son was supposed to be in D.C. doing something. They were honoring his father. And again, when Admiral Byrd died, he had a lot of secrets that he was trying to release to his family. Well, his son ended up in a mysterious, what I believe to be a conspiracy death. His son was found in what looked like a staged crime scene. He was missing a shoe, and there was liquor bottles and pill bottles. And this is mainstream news, but it looked like a set-up crime scene.
Alicia, you should definitely, you should check out the last show that the Faull Brothers and I did together, because we went into all of this in great detail.
I'll check that out. This is like an epic crossover for me. I love you guys. I don't watch TV anymore. All I ever watch is YouTube.
Well, we're glad to have you. Appreciate you watching.
Thank you
guys so much.
All right. Thanks, Alicia. Have a good night.
You too.
Yep. Bye-bye. All right, so it looks like RDoc has not started yet. I've asked the audience to let me know when he does start. Then we can go ahead and call it quits there. But we've still got 6 people here. We'll try to get through everybody. Patriot Shepherd is our next caller. We'll be looking for Patriot Shepherd to start that microphone up. But have you guys, just before we talk to Patriot Shepherd, do you guys know anything specific about President McKinley?
McKinley.
In relation to this topic?
Not enough to speak on. I regrettably have to say that.
All right. A future documentary, surely.
I'll look into that, yeah.
Patriot Shepherd, you're next. Can we have you say hello to the audience?
Yeah, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Patriot?
Hey, it's good to see you guys. Man, I love what all y'all do. Man, I haven't had a chance to check out the documentary yet, but I'm definitely going to check it out.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
It's worth a watch,
by the way.
So, hey, Red Pill, dude,
Yeah.
you are awesome, man. I really appreciate everything you do, man. I catch all your shows, all your videos, and we need more people like you. I'm actually aspiring to do the same thing similarly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm ex-military. I'm medically retired from the military. And back in 2012, when I got out, actually a little bit previously than that, I experienced some things when I was in the military. I lived overseas. I lived in South Korea for 3 years, Germany for 3 years. And one of the biggest reasons I got out of the military is because of the things that I experienced in kind of connecting dots that I don't know that I would have been able to connect if I hadn't experienced that. And I've been kind of a truth seeker since then, and kind of seeking out the truth. And more people had started coming out and talking about everything that was going on. And I'm trying to get into it. I'm tired of staying silent anymore. And I'm just kind of hesitant because of my background and stuff that I've experienced. So it's hard for me to come out and talk about some of the things. But I just trying to get some advice on what you think, how I should start. I've got a few videos out on a few different places and stuff like that. I'm not trying to plug myself, but I'm just trying to get some advice on how you started.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much for saying all that, and thank you for your service. My best advice would be to sit down, really examine what type of videos, what type of content you want to create. You know, I mean, because obviously there's a lot of things to talk about without having to, I guess, you know, break your oath, you know, I mean, break your NDA if there's anything like that you've signed, you know, talk about anything that you're not supposed to, but you can perhaps use your personal experience as a point of reference to talk about a lot of things that are out there, and it would be a unique spin on what, you know, many people are talking about. But the best advice that I would say would be to, hey, look at that, you're all set.
Sorry. Yeah. I was like, why is my camera not showing? I didn't know that.
All right. Well, you're halfway there. Okay. You got the headset, you got the mic, you got the green screen. You're doing good so far. You just start. So I have my own channel that I have been doing creative things on YouTube for quite a while. When I left the military, I started working for myself and doing a lot of artwork and stuff like that. Yeah.
Different name. I don't necessarily want to plug that or anything, but I'm in a community where there's a lot of people that are asleep, and they know me. They know my personal name. They know, you know what I mean? I've met them in person and stuff like that, and I've got to spend a lot of time with a lot of these people that are leaning a lot more to the liberal Democratic side. Not that I really care about aisles or anything like that, but or side of the aisle, but a lot of people that are asleep. And it's been really hard for me to come out and talk about things because I have a life before I got into this creative aspect and creative community, and I kind of have a name for myself. I kind of skyrocketed really quick and got to know a lot of really big names and stuff. And it's been really hard for me to go ahead and take that leap of faith, knowing that if they can't accept who I am and the truth that I know and the things that I need to speak about, I just need to forget about all that success that I've had and go forward with what I know to be the truth and the things that I've experienced and speak up, because I feel like I could really reach a lot of people that are asleep because of my position and because I come out and talk about things, because I am already so embedded in that community and I need to come out and talk about this. So it's just been a real struggle because I know I'm going to burn bridges and lose relationships and opportunities, and it's just
that's part of it, man.
It happens.
And, you know, Jesus said something really profound. Jesus said that, you know, when you go from town to town, if people don't receive the gospel, just kick the dust off your feet and move on. So you're not going to sit around there and cry over it. And I'm not necessarily comparing every bit of truth to the gospel, because the gospel stands alone. It is what it is. But I'd like to apply that same principle when you're trying to wake people up. If they don't receive it, you know what? Pray for them. Kick the dust off your feet. Move on. Right. It's going to hurt sometimes. I can't tell you how many friends we've lost.
Very familiar.
We've lost so many friends. We've had family members who you know, practically mock what we do. But you know what? You know what you got to do. And if you've got a burning inside that chest of yours to get out there and to try to wake people up, I'm telling you, man, time is getting short.
Yeah. I can't stay silent anymore, man. I can't. I've started posting stuff on my personal Facebook page. I've started you know, my own YouTube channel, just a few videos and stuff, and really trying to, I've got a bunch of videos I've got recorded, and I'm just trying to hash through and edit them so that I can actually not look like a crazy person when I'm on here trying to compile all my thoughts together and get them organized and stuff. So I appreciate the encouragement. Before I do take off, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, guys, and I appreciate the advice.
Good.
I'm curious what y'all think about the whole mail-in ballot thing. It's really concerning to me. I don't think that we're going to lose any votes as far as what President Trump had in 2016. I think we're only going to get more than what we had back then. Mm-hmm. But I am really concerned about these Democratic governors and stuff like that, people that are definitely part of the deep state and part of these cities that all the riots are in and stuff like that. If they're capable of not upholding the law, they're just as capable of allowing all these universal mail-in ballots that are going to sway the vote in one way over the other. And I'm really concerned, and I'd like to hear your opinion on that. And if they're going to do anything, are we going to be able to stop it? Is President Trump going to be able to stop it? I mean, how's that going to work?
For me personally, you're going to be a lot better on this than I am, man. But I was just going to say, like with the digital voting boxes, I mean, they've been proven. I mean, you remember the Acorn scandal and everything like that.
Yeah.
So like, I personally would like to have a solid paper ballot. Now, mail-in, you're dealing with a whole another deal. So
well, I mean, the mail-in ballot thing, or the argument is that these are just universal ballots. They're mailed out to anybody, whether they're there, deceased, so on and so forth. They're not. You don't have to show any ID. They're not checking the IDs or anything like that. Identification as far as counting the votes. You're not going in like when I live in a small town and in a small state. You know what I mean? And we don't even have a stoplight in our town. But I go to a local church. They look at my ID. They look in the roll. They scroll down the list and mark me off. I got to sign stuff. I mean, the way I hear it is a lot of states around the United States don't actually have those precautions in place when you go to vote.
No, they don't. Here's my opinion. I've been thinking about this a lot. I have a lot of people asking me about it. First of all, I would point to the fact that back in 2018, I think that the federal government did a lot of work to identify exactly where the weak points were in the voting system, to see what the states individually were going to be doing, what the Democrats were doing in each of those states specifically to cheat. We had all the ballot harvesting taking place, lots of hanky-panky in Arizona and California. But I would also next point you to the fact that President Trump has a patriot in charge of the post office right now. And any state that they've started doing these mail-in ballots, a large percent of them have already been lost. A large percent of them have been disqualified because they're improper, or because there's dead people, or there's animals that are voting, pets in people's houses. So I think that we are in control of what's happening. I'm anticipating these Democrat governors allowing as much illegal voting to take place as possible, but I don't think that it's going to work. I think that the election is probably going to take a lot longer this year to get an actual firm count on who the president is. I think it will be President Trump in the end for a second term, but it's going to be delayed in the same way that it was delayed in the 2000 election with Gore and Bush. And it may even come down to the Supreme Court again. But I think that any type of voter fraud is going to be headed off, and I believe that we are going to be okay with it. Now, with everything that's happening at the post office, I think that this new Postmaster General is in control of everything that's happening, and these Democrat states are asking for all of this additional money, but I don't think it's going to work. It's not going to work in their favor, and it's just another ploy because they know that they can't win on the merits of their candidate. The only way that they could possibly win is if they are successfully able to cheat, and I just don't believe that's going to happen this time. I have a lot lot of faith in this one.
Hey, what headphones did you get? Because I've been looking for in-ear. Can you send me a link? Can I post a link?
Send me an email and I'll send you a link. And put in-ear monitors as the subject, and then we'll talk further about your show too. Okay, because I'd like to hear about it.
Well, nice. Thank you, man. One last thing. This is a theory that I'm lonely, guys. I don't have people that I can talk to about this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with the things that I've experienced, and I'm not trying to keep anybody else from talking. I appreciate y'all going longer. Red Pill.
Yes.
And you two gentlemen, have y'all looked at XRP? Have y'all looked into everything that's going on? 165 world banking organizations have already adopted it. The top two banks in the United States have already adopted it. That's JP Morgan and Bank of America. There's legislation all over the world that are talking about XRP blockchain. And take a look at it if you haven't. I'm just giving that to y'all. Yep. That's a lot of research that I've been doing. Also, about the biblical mindset and stuff like that. I'm a Christian. I go to church. I play music in my church band. You know what I mean? I play the guitar. I'm a big fan, of being in the church and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I do have a question, though. This is a theory that I've thought about for a long period of time, and I can't say that I've actually heard it from anybody else. What do you think about humanity actually, this being a second life cycle that we have gone through, same stages? Now, I'm not saying that the stories in the Bible are not true, but I'm thinking when you think about all these monolithic sites and these ruins all over the world, how we don't have the technology today to reproduce these different types of structures and stuff like that. What if humanity is actually originated on another planet like Mars and actually migrated to here because of a catastrophic event or some type of global war that happened, and then like an ark coming to the United States, seeding, and then still going through the same life cycle where the stories still apply as far as the Bible and creation and God, but we are going through a second or third life cycle here on Earth that has actually been withheld from us. I've never really had anybody heard anybody talk about this.
There's a popular theory out there that this is the second Earth age. Now, I do believe that it is the second Earth age. I think the first Earth age was God and the angelic creatures.
Okay.
Now, there's also a lot of one of our insiders that I can't go too deep on this, but he said that there's a government program that was able to take people to Mars, and that it was Lucifer's planet. So I don't believe we were ever on Mars. Okay. But I believe that the Bible's pretty clear that Adam was the first man. I believe that what happened before Adam and Eve was stuff it was prehistory. We like to call that prehistory. And in prehistory, that's where the rebellion took place between Lucifer and the angels. They rebelled. And then I believe that there was some type of a war, kind of what you're referring to here. Something happened that made the earth void, and the earth had to be redone, and this time it was for mankind. I don't believe that we are reincarnated souls. That's a very popular theory by a very popular YouTube heretic. But regardless, the question is a very valid question. There's a lot of questions like this. I would say keep it simple, stick to the scripture. I do believe that there are things before the flood. I think that the flood is the big point that I'll take you to. Right. Before the flood, we had advanced technology. Earlier in the show, we talked about how DeWitt Clinton said that they have ancient fortifications they found on American soil. I believe that stuff was pre-flood.
Megaliths.
Megalithic structures.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there.
Pre-flood stuff. And they were supernaturally built, some of them. But regardless, they had technology before the flood that I believe God wiped off the face of the earth. And we're finally getting back to those types of technologies. Right.
Okay, that's kind of like what I'm saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying right there.
And listen, there's nothing wrong with asking questions like this.
Yeah.
But you ask that question in church and you might get shunned. So just
there's nobody else that I can talk about these things with. You know what I mean? So I mean, I'm not trying to, fish for friends, but guys, seriously, if there's any way that I can reach out for y'all, I'm seriously
look me up on Facebook.
Lonely with these topics. So
I'm on Facebook.
Appreciate it, guys.
I just got done deleting some people, so if you want to add me on Facebook, feel free. I'm done. 2020 has taught me one thing: delete the BS.
Dude,
it's a good idea.
We don't want to get in echo chambers, though, but I appreciate your time, guys. Thank you.
Patriot Shepherd, thanks, brother.
Bro.
We'll talk to you soon.
God bless you, man.
Yeah.
Take care.
God bless. Bye-bye. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're going to try to skip through these callers, guys. Keep your questions as brief as possible because I need to take a bathroom break here pretty quick. I drank a couple of monsters. So, Robert Duncan, you're on the air. What's your question for the Faull Brothers?
Oh, Robert Duncan.
Hey, this is weird because these two guys right here are my friends.
Right on.
And I saw that they were on here on this show tonight, and I was like, I am tuning in. I've been hanging with you guys. It's the first time I've ever been seen your show, Red Pill.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Just the fact that you're associated with these two guys makes it a little sketchy. So.
Oh man, so we love you.
I don't so much have a question, but if I'm close to closing this thing out, then it would just be perfect. I just wanted to say hey to my two friends, and they know I'm a teacher, and we're going back to school and all that kind of stuff, and so we've been kind of keeping up with each other and checking in on each other. So I just love the fact I get to see them at work tonight. I've seen their videos. I've not seen Belly the Beast yet. I have told guys about Belly the Beast so much though. I probably know most of what's in it just from our discussions. But I've watched.
I'll put one in the mail for you. We'll get one in the mail for you by Monday. Yeah. That's a guarantee.
It's awesome, man.
Hey, we love you, man. Tell Paul congratulations on the track, man, the track meet, and man, we're praying for you guys. Red Pill. Robert is a teacher in high school, and they've got him in a trailer right now, wearing a mask. Not that we need to get on a tangent here, but he's basically in a trailer with no kids. He's teaching a classroom, a virtual classroom right now.
Interesting.
I'm a Zoom master now.
Oh, good. Glad that you had the opportunity to use it before you got on here. There's nothing more frustrating than someone who's never used Zoom before. All right. Well, Robert, thanks for your call, brother. I appreciate it, and thank you for watching the show too.
Hey, thank you, man. Y'all have a great
brother.
night.
Have a great night.
You too, man.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. We got Neo next. Neo has been patiently waiting. All right, and many people are saying that RDoc has started. I know, guys, we've just got a couple people left, so we're going to get through them. Please tell RDoc that I apologize, and I owe him one. Perhaps he can go just a little bit late. I hope he's not too angry with me. Neo, go ahead and unmute, and what's your question for the Faull Brothers?
Hey, guys, I cannot believe I still got on. Praise God.
Yeah.
Okay, just really quick, wanted to invite everybody to Tuesday afternoon fellowship on the Faull Brothers channel. It's awesome.
Yep.
Tell them about it, guys. It's awesome.
Hey, we have a hangout. We talk about just daily things that God's doing in our lives. We get into some scripture. We do some retro TV quotes, and we do some fun stuff on there. And we just have a fellowship. It's a small group, but it's awesome.
We've been to the Bible study. We are taking a little hiatus. We're just seeking the Lord on some things, getting direction, and we're about to start pre-production on the new film. So. And
I have to ask, Grace, who are you exactly? Just
Neo.
So I know. You're Neo on the channel?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh. Obviously, man. Man. Sorry,
all good.
I've been over here drinking hot tea.
It's all good.
Neo, yeah, okay.
Stuff that we talk about on this channel. These two dudes talk biblically. I mean, they relate it all back right to the Bible. And if you want to know what's going on in the world and what's going on with everything we talk about on this channel, I mean, our favorite Anon says, read the Bible. God wins. These two dudes know about what's up. So
they sure do.
Join us.
All right. Neo, thanks for the call.
Neo.
Appreciate you.
Love y'all.
Love
Bye.
you too.
Love you.
All right. Good stuff. All right. Almost done. Let's see. Who do we got next? We got Ribbit next. Ribbit is coming up next. And we'll go ahead and we'll just, as Ribbit is getting Ribbit's microphone on, we'll bring in Alexandria Occasional Cortex so that she's ready. Ribbit, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you good. Yes, we're in overdrive. So what's your question?
Yes, okay. I'm going to try to go fast.
Okay.
Here's the thing, okay? I've been having this vision all my life about the world and all that, and a wheel, black and white, where the conduit that our attention is focused on by media and all that stuff is what directs the energy that comes to us from the universe and affects our daily lives. And throughout history, if you think of the pedophilia issue, that is the morality issue that brings down empires, because it controls the violent reaction, the righteousness in us to violently react to this, and then we are thrown to the dark. We're not saved. We're thrown to the dark when we do that. So it's kind of like an exchange of souls. When this turn of the wheel happens, this focus of energy turns. And then it's up to us in our reaction and how we deal with the worst of us that will focus where we go as humanity in the future, if you get what I mean. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that two things that we see historically that absolutely, when these things go, rampant, it brings about the fall of nations. You got pedophilia and you've got abortion. In the old days, they didn't call it abortion. And what's fascinating about this is that right now you've got the Temple of Satan, and they've just released these ideas of making abortion a sacrifice, a child sacrifice. It's totally legal. This is what's going on right now. We're reverting back, and I personally believe, and I'm going to step on some toes here, but I personally believe that the abortion industry was created by the shadow government. It was always about child sacrifice, because in the old world, that was one of the most powerful. Raping a child or killing a child, those things in the ancient world, that's like, you can't get any more powerful in your satanic rituals.
Well, Project Veritas, I think it was, went undercover and had the abortion doctors stating the very same thing. So.
Well, and we just had the Satanic Church ask for abortion to be recognized as a ritual in the Satanic Church. All right, exactly. Ribbit, thank you very much for your call. I appreciate you. We've got Alexandria Occasional Cortex next. Alexandria, go ahead.
Hey, great show, guys. It's been really good and really connected to a 3 week long or so deep dig on 4598, or the CUE drop.
Okay.
4598 with Catherine Herridge's Mercer pen.
Yes.
So I just put the end. It looked like it would come from Bill Gates' house, the Mercer pen.
Okay.
So I put the end of it on Bill Gates' mansion on Lake Washington. Wouldn't you know, it goes right to the very tippy top of North Mercer and West Mercer Way, the very tippy top of Mercer Island.
Oh, it's very interesting.
And the gematria for Mercer in Jewish gematria is Gates.
Oh, that's extremely interesting.
But so this big star that was a focal point was right over a sacrificial ritual, like baby ritual kind of satanic place, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the form of a giant spiral, 3 feet tall, 220 feet deep, 140 feet wide, but a giant spiral. But this dig turned into pretty much ley lines, really. Let me sum it all up. But the where they put them there is this group, the Geo group, that has marked and activated now all the ley lines of Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco, and have started placing all these ritual art pieces. It's government funded. It's going through, like in Seattle, it's like the Seattle Arts Commission of blah, 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 but whatever. It's government funded. And it was a really nice deep dig, because what I found out also is that the first home of Barack Obama in Seattle is where they had the Chaz. That's where why they had Chaz where it is, right? But also that the Sabood, Bill Gates, Paul Allen,
yep,
all these creepy things, they're using ley lines to place these, as are every single FF event that I've found.
And
every single one, all of them.
So placing, ritualistic things on ley lines is nothing new. We have Stonehenge, and I'm sure, probably the pyramids. There's probably a lot of different things that are placed on ley lines, and when they're doing that, maybe for the same reason that they have the 666 square over the Bible to harness that power.
It's intentional.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And a lot of the addresses.
It's fascinating. When you study the origin of DC, they also chose that location for a few different reasons. But seasonally, it's lit up by the dog star, also called Sirius, the star Sirius. Now that goes back to the mythology of Isis and Osiris as well. But our first time we visited DC, Wes knew more about it than I did. Our first time years ago, and he said, "Hey, we're going to see this star. It's going to be out, and it's like a second moon." Like we saw it, like we were about an hour outside of DC. And sure enough, you see this giant, it wasn't as big as the moon, but it was brighter than any other star in the sky. It was obvious. And that's right. You're talking ley lines. DC they set DC up just like that.
It's also built on Rome, Maryland. The pre-land before DC is Rome, Maryland. And it's got 7 hills too. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, the 7 hills. That's also biblical. And the guy that owned the land was named Pope.
Yeah, Francis Pope.
Did you hear about the second Washington, D.C. they built in using the same plat map of D.C.? They put it in Port Angeles, Washington.
Really?
And Abraham Lincoln himself had declared it, like they had all the plans drawn up to mimic that, to mimic DC, and they had the Federal Reserve set up there as a secondary Federal Reserve as well. But they essentially set up a whole secondary capital at one point.
Belly of the beast.
There you go. That's all I got for now. Thank you. Yeah, bye for now.
Yep, see ya. Appreciate you. All right, final caller of the evening. Caller, you're on the air. Can we get your name?
Yes, sir. Mike.
Mike, welcome to the program.
I can't say anything more than that.
That's fine.
I just wanted to add. I wanted to add to the connection.
Okay.
I was married. I married into a family, and my father-in-law was I guess you would call him a vice president of the only electric company in this state. And I only learned a year after I had married his daughter that she was a satanic witch. And she confessed that to me. She tried to indoctrinate me into Satanism, and I was a Christian. I couldn't do it. And but I actually walked in on her on a satanic ritual.
Wow.
Now her parents were really upscale. He had a lot of accolades from minority at the ACLU and people. The things like that. He was always getting awards, but he was the most racist person I've ever heard of. The only words out of his mouth were very racist,
Right.
So these were some very satanic people. That's what I wanted to add to your program. I would normally never call in because I don't want anybody knowing, but that's true. It's at the very upper edge. I went to his 32nd Masonic banquet when he got his 32nd degree. And, after I divorced her over this satanic stuff, I only learned that I got this book that I had to order through a university. It was called the Dogmas and Moral of Ancient Scottish Rites or something like that.
Morals and
Dogmas. It was Albert Pike's book.
Albert Pike, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what we referred to earlier in the show, that they say that Lucifer
Absolutely. That I did this back in the late 80s. And I was reading through this book, and sure enough, he says that, Christ was actually the spirit of darkness, or the god of darkness, and Lucifer was the spirit of light.
Yeah, that's a flip-flop.
I always try to do that. Well, Mike, listen, we're starting to lose internet signal here, buddy, so we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you very much for letting us know. I'm glad you got away from the witch.
I want you to know that.
Yeah.
I want you to know that that's real.
Yeah, we believe it.
It's very bad. Very bad.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, sir, thank you for your call.
Mike.
Appreciate
God
it.
bless.
All right, guys. All right, so thank you so much to everybody who has stuck around for the overdrive. Thank you very much to the Faull Brothers for doing the extra time. Appreciate it, you guys. Give us one more time where everybody can go to find you and to find your work.
If you head over to fourthwatchfilms.com, all spelled out, fourthwatchfilms.com. I don't know if your guys can put it in the description.
It's already in there.
Where, okay, right on. If you go there, you can find the DVDs. We've got all of our films there on DVD. And then we also have the Vimeo account, which is linked on our fourthwatchfilms.com as well. But if you go over to, I have a YouTube channel, Justin Faull. It's just my name. There's only one of me out there, so you can find me there. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Instagram's just for me just kind of fooling around. But that's pretty much how you can reach me. I'm kind of hard to reach. I'm going to be really honest with you. But I do my best to try to reach people. I try to communicate with people in our live group fellowship that we do on Tuesdays, 2 Central. But that's fourthwatchfilms.com.
Yeah, I'll be at the live stream as well on Tuesdays when we restart that again on his YouTube channel. I have a Facebook, but I've just unplugged, man. I've tried to recharge during this time period. I will get back to it. I will accept friends requests whenever I get back to it.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who participated in the chat, everybody who participated in supporting the show. Thank you once again to the Faull Brothers. I love all my mods. Thank you so much, you guys. If you want any of those links they were talking about, go to the description of this video. And other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. I am going to upload this show as a separate video on the channel, because anytime we go over 2 hours, it won't play the first half hour for whatever reason. So if you missed any portion of it, be looking for the full upload to come after this tonight. Love y'all.